This conference will now be recorded.
Stand for the pledge.
Yeah, you'll delay that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So, we're here tonight for an update on the sign project and DRI. Start with the sign project.
Can I have public comment first?
Is there anybody that wants to public comment first? It's not the signs or the ARPA.
Your guys just off the sign.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so signage, and brought up on the thing will be your secretary.
Okay. So really what we want to do is just give you a quick update of where we are in the process. We established all the branding and marketing for the logos. We established the color schemes. We've done a location report, which is actually in this packet that you guys can review. You can take that home, review it. And the steering committee is reviewing it now, bring additional comments, and I would encourage you guys on the board, if you have any additional ideas or thoughts as you look through it. What we try to do is, on the location report, each element that we picked is in there, mapped out, as well as a rough photo rendering of what the place is going to be looking like. They all have a generic message schedule at this point. We're now to the point where we're working on defining the message schedule. So that's going to take probably 2 to 3 weeks of review and back and forth, putting the major destination elements, arrows. What we tried to do is team it up with other projects in the village, especially the parking lots downtown. So when you get down through the report and you get into the additional parking lot signage that's throughout the village, everything's set to kind of give visitors clear, concise directions to the closest parking lot. Right now, we've budgeted exhausted about 85% of our budget. We're holding about 15% back in contingency right now for unknown elements with installation and any additional product that we can put in there. So as you go through this, you're going to see all the different locations pointed out. You'll also see our shop drawings. We've actually started fabricating all the elements that are in here right now, other than the message schedules. So right now we're on track to have fabrication done mid-April, with installation starting in April, beginning of May, with the goal of having everything completed by Memorial Day in town. So we're kind of clicking right through at this point. I know you've seen a lot of the different elements through our updates. I just kind of want to give you a quick synopsis of where we are and see if you have any thoughts or comments at this point.
And you can take your time with this, because I know it's the first time you guys are seeing this, so feel free to. But because we are at that point where we're starting, like, we're gonna start building things, and we're obviously like a top spread, and we just want to make sure that the village board is okay with like where we're going with this, because we can't, at some point soon, we're not going to be able to go backwards, So if there's any issues or anything right now, like, that's just a conversation that we need to have over the next couple of weeks, rather than get farther down the road. So, feel free, like I said, to take your time with it and reach out to me, and I communicate with Connor and IDS on all of this stuff, and we'll, just kind of get everything like really nailed down, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and then start digging some dirt.
All right, well, next step after we complete the message schedule, doing all those changes, and we'll have a complete graphics package for you guys to review, with mock-ups and everything. And, this also gives you a sample of what you're gonna get at the end of the day, from a village's standpoint, I mean, it's both Tioga and yours, where you're gonna have access to all these drawings, all these documents, so down the road, if you wanna add signage, you already have it. Nothing has to be reinvented, it's just pulling stuff together. Any initial thoughts or questions while we're here?
Is this something, the PDF or something, is this something I can upload to our website?
You're welcome to.
Okay. Think anybody
So,
will look through it.
you absolutely can. I mean, this is all public information. Personally, for me, I would like to get your feedback before we go to the public with it and make sure that we're all on the same, wavelength with it all, because even though it is a project through our office, we all know public perception is gonna be that it's the board, like a village project, so, I would like you guys to be okay with that, and, then we can, and it's up to you, you can do whatever you want with it, but we could also just kind of talk about like a public rollout. We did do community comments and reached out to businesses and did all that, but that was a while ago, and that was for the branding, so it's been a little bit since everybody's seen this. So like I said, I would just like you guys to be really okay with the direction, because it is gonna come back to you if there is any
Right.
pushback.
Well, so are all the different designs, page 10? Is that or are there certain of those that you plan on using, or?
I'm not sure exactly what page they actually start on, it's actually just past the location report are the different elements that we're gonna be using. Yeah, so those are design options, and those are just options,
Oh, okay,
so nothing's been finalized or picked yet with the banners. I know you said you didn't like the one.
I don't like the one that's.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one either. But just through the design, it came up with multiple
Page
options.
10.
And that's really where you're gonna get to see the next report with the full renderings, with everything laid out. You can really get an understanding of what it'll look like.
Oh, this one here. Oh, you go.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a comic.
Well, and so one of the next steps that we're gonna take is, we do have a steering committee, but I would invite I would be happy to invite any village board members to be a part of that while we really kind of dig in on the details of this, because, I think it's important that and I think Connor and James have done a good job connecting with each other. But there's other projects that this branding might be used on too, so I just wanna make sure we're really all on the same page with things.
For me, there's these smaller key signs, right? for
Right.
Parking, right? They're gonna be the signs that are gonna be having the information about 2-hour, 3-hour parking.
No, those are just directionals to parking lots.
Okay,
So there's 17 of those spread around. So the sign above it is actually what we call the village directional. Those will actually have your destinations with arrows. And then below it, on some of them, we share the parking lot poles, which are just wayfinders to your parking lots. So that particular one will be directing up to the next corner, where there'll be another sign directing you to turn right to go up to the parking lot.
so you're just gonna add it to some of them.
Yep, some of them we're adding.
So this one here for the museum, have you contacted them about that?
I mean, initially we talked about it, so there's some different signs that have different functions. So there's some signs that are going to the finger posts, which are have the little flag things. those are easily changed up and ordered and moved, but we were thinking and that's what, when Connor's talking about message schedule, it's like, what are we putting on this actual sign? So those are the things that we're gonna be figuring out, but we kind of thought like the museums and the parks and the things that don't change are what we would put on a lot of those signs. And then with like the finger posts, like those we can, manage them a little better. So if a business, if there's a new business or like a business goes out of business, then we can manage that. So they all have different kind of functions. So Laura, real quick, when you were mentioning like a 2 hour, 3 hour parking and that kind of, is that important to you guys to have that notated or?
I just wanted to know like how busy the sign posts are gonna be, you know, 'cause these are like.
Those ones, because you're driving, they're not busy. It's literally gonna be your key and your arrow. It's the primary function of it, right? So, I mean, because really that's a pretty small sign. It's actually, if my memory serves me right, I think it's 18 by 18. So it's not that big of a sign. It's literally just for you as from a directional standpoint if you're driving to help guide around. So the main ones in the parking lots will have that area for text, right? And then we'll get into the message schedule once that goes out. You know, with any hours or requirements on them.
The parking lots are gonna be 2 hours, 3 hours also, right?
No,
We haven't even decided what those things might be.
they're right now not in the local laws anything.
Okay.
There's no restriction.
And we don't have those signs in our plan, we just have the directionals in our plan. Like what would, like just guide people there, not like the actual like parking lot signs.
The parking lot signs are in our plans, just as they're bid, we'll have to finalize the graphics, which won't affect the bids or prices or anything like that.
And so there's 4 crosswalks that'll get special paint
Yes.
and the design. And then, what about when there's street work or something like that? What's like the long-term plan for that?
Well, they are a maintenance issue. I mean, all crosswalks fade over time. But it is a pretty expensive, you know, thing to do for the paint. So it's not, you know, the be all end all. Most of them, everybody I've talked to said 3 to 4 years. You know,
Stencils that are provided for it or
Yeah.
something?
and we'll actually do all that ourselves when we're doing the installation. So we can provide those too.
Is the state DOT cool with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because I know
Yeah.
they usually paint Front Street, Main Street.
Yeah, we actually went to DOT to get approval to do it.
Okay.
It's kind of a fun, unique feature that a lot of different towns are starting to do, you know, in their downtown. Yeah.
I think as long as we have the stencil to touch them up.
So what do you need back from us?
Yeah, we just really wanna make sure that like the direction that we're going in is in line with what the village is doing with, number one, other projects, and that everybody is like okay with, like the aesthetic, where we're gonna locate things. It's up to each and every one of you how involved you wanna be in the details of this. Like I said, we have a steering committee. I am happy to have whoever wants to be involved, like, sit in on a meeting, but at some point in the near future, we're gonna have like a final meeting and just say, this is where this sign is going, this is what we're doing, you know, like, we need to get those things nailed down, and we didn't wanna go forward with that without having buy-in from the board, and also give you all the opportunity to be a part of the conversation if you would like to.
You guys
So you
know-
have a deadline for us?
When's your next committee meeting?
We haven't said it yet, we're coming to you guys first, just to like see, you know, what you thought.
I would say 2 weeks.
And we have a board meeting next week and
They're
2
right.
weeks after that.
So the meeting that we're thinking of is more of like a workshop meeting, so, where we can sit down and look at each different sign and figure out what is gonna go on that. So I don't know how that works with you guys, you can figure it out yourselves, but, it would not necessarily be a village board meeting, because it's not just gonna be the village board, there's like our steering committee, so, I would definitely like as much input from you guys as possible, so we can schedule that as you would like. Ron's been really great about being like our liaison, but I know
He's done.
he's done.
Yeah, really, I mean, the point was just trying to, tonight was to update you where we are, where our next steps are, what we're working on. And, you know, allow you guys a chance to, you know, as you peruse through it, if you see something that jumps out, you have a thought, maybe this might be better here, share that with us. I mean, you know your community better than I do. I'm just kind of going by, you know, best practice and, you know, kind of from that outside person in visiting and how do I get around. But, you know, we're open to all thoughts. You know, like I said, we still have room in the budget, we can add elements here, we can take elements out. You know, so it's just, but we are getting down to that crunch time, so just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page.
Yeah, this is almost identical to the email I sent to you guys a couple weeks ago. There's a couple tweaks, but I mean, I'm still gonna be on the steering committee, and I obviously won't lose your emails. Now I can be a pain in your ass on that side.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, look through this book, and if anybody has questions, comments, get with Becca and the next.
And that's why I actually put in the back, I actually put a sample of how we do the message schedule, so if you wanna jot down notes, if you think something should go there, jot it down, email it to us. That's, you know, that's really what we're gonna be doing, so.
Okay.
And you can stop in my office and I'll include, like Ron said, he's on the steering committee. I can include all of you on that, so when we do schedule that meeting, if you wanna come in and be a part of that conversation, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And you can email us.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, first of all, I want to apologize for being late. The dog ate my homework. This right here is still written in stone. That's done, that's a done deal, that
Pretty
logo?
much.
All right, that's the only thing. I can't stop looking at that and seeing the Pringles man.
Pringles?
It looks like the Pringles, the mustache, the
Yeah,
river
Once you see it,
mustache.
you can't unsee it.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
That's the best one we've heard so far.
I can't unsee it. I mentioned it before.
Charles, that's copyrighted.
I know, but I can't unsee it.
Good for Charles.
I was hoping maybe you could like straighten out the river or flip it the other way, make it look like it's smiling. You know, I don't know. It does look like a face. The Pringles man is all I see.
I'm just glad the river is blue.
What's the white part? That's the mustache.
They
The
call mine as my
logo has been a difficult thing, it really has, but.
I love the logo. It's just that,
No, you
that
just
if
see
I'm
the
gonna
Pringles
remember it,
man.
that's gonna stick out to me. And once
And now
everyone
it's
sees that, they say, oh yeah, the Pringles place.
Well, when you pick the courthouse with it, it takes that away.
Yeah, well, the windows and the eyes, and you got the nose, and you got that mustache for the river.
Charles, some things you
I'm
should keep
sorry.
up here.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Logos are difficult. We've had a lot of conversations about this and, you know, it's not, honestly, I don't think all of us think it's perfect, but it's going to be really visible. It's gonna stick out a little bit, and it has like some of the elements that are important to like our identity too.
I guess in another life, I used to work on Madison Avenue, you know, with the advertising, because I just love that phase, you know, things that make you think and stick to you.
Mhm.
That's what they do, and that's how they probably got the Pringles guy.
I think overall, this is, I mean, it's, color scheme and the signage, I think is gonna transform the downtown in the village and really make it feel like it's one succinct.
No,
Yeah,
I
think
love
your
it, I
colors
love
are
it.
good.
I'm messing with you guys, but.
And now every time I look at it, Charles,
I think it's like an earwig, you know, you get that song stuck in here, that's all you're gonna see.
Yup.
It's true, once you see it, you can't.
Strawberry flavored, chicken. Oh, nailed that market. The only place you can get them is in Owego.
Just,
He's got some.
just to ruin Charles' day further, I'm on the steering committee, but this one, the Owego with the light blue around it, reminds me of if you're familiar with the last iteration of the Think sign.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Was it IBM?
Yeah, that's the I mean, it's dang near identical.
He even brought like a sign and put it on my desk.
Well, I Googled the logo for
Right.
Pringles. I looked at the Pringles and put it right next to the logo, the box, the candy comes in, I swear.
Well, and it really has been a process, and I think we have a really good committee that has been really engaged and thoughtful on things. And we haven't always agreed on things, like obviously, but, I do think once we get these in place, it's going to really enhance the downtown. And finding parking has been an issue for like a long time. So, but again, we don't want to start building things without making sure that you guys are on board with it.
Parking's definitely one of our greatest hidden treasures.
Now is that a navy blue background, or is that black?
It's a navy blue.
Susquehanna shade.
That's good, I like.
Yes, that's the official color.
So thanks for bringing this. I know certainly some of us need a week or more to look this all over.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
look at everything.
No, overall, looks great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Mike, who is the final authority on approving this? Or making whatever final decision there is? Who's the final authority?
So it's a little bit of a gray area, Mike, if you don't mind me speaking for you, because the financials are going through our office.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, we need the village, we're not gonna put signs in the village that the village doesn't want.
I don't think you can.
Well, I don't know what those things are, I've never done this before.
Well, no, that's why I asked about what the final authority is,
So
the DRI and the committee and the finances have control over finances, they don't have control over, there's gonna be a sign here, or there's gonna be a sign there, or this is gonna be there, or that's
I
gonna
think
be
it
there.
depends on the property of, it might be different for 96, for DOT, that
Sure.
might be something,
No,
but a lot of this
I'd like
is
to
on
know
village
these, I'd like to know
property.
this stuff, yeah.
So
Yeah.
anything and this gets into the real technical stuff, but, anything on 17 or 96, there's particular materials, font sizes that we have to use to be within DOT standards
Yeah.
because we're on DOT routes. Once we get off that, we're really subject to any village code. And really, we're subject to readability, right? We want to have enough clear, visible, that everybody can read it. You don't want to just squeeze too much on. One of the next steps we're gonna do too is that we're gonna get with DPW, and we're actually gonna be walking all these spots, marking them out, seeing if they have any potential underground issues, making sure that we're not within right of way. There's a few areas where we're gonna have to remove sidewalk, and we'll be putting in new sidewalk, because we'll be building foundations, so that's all stuff that we're gonna be going through with DPW, so we're all on the same page.
I mean, it was part of the reason me being on the committee was to keep you guys informed, and I believe I've done a pretty solid job of that, even the non-email people.
Yeah.
I mean, just to get a general direction, I mean, obviously, we have apples, we wanted oranges. I mean, we should have had a little interference by this point, I would think.
I would hope.
Yeah, no, I think overall it's great, there might be a few places to change them.
Yeah, and that's really why we need to have these conversations now before we get further in, so, I mean, we appreciate the time today, I was kind of just I know this meeting is about something else, so we didn't want to take up too much time, but, I would definitely invite everybody to take your time with this and just like, let us know how you're thinking about locations and that kind of thing. This kind of signage, like, Connor and IDS, they've done it in other communities that are very, very adept at figuring all of that stuff out, at what works for pedestrians, what works for like vehicles, so we can have those conversations.
One of the other benefits is they do deal with MWBE standards.
Oh, yeah.
Which will help other projects meet that demand.
That's true, if our projects have signed.
Right, even if it's 1%, it's 1% out of 15 or 30, whatever the ratio is now.
My only question is, did you ask the railroad about this sign?
Yep, I'm supposed to have my approval letter this week.
Okay, good.
So,
No, I like those.
I can tell you those other banners on that bridge are illegal.
Yeah, that's not all legal.
Yeah, we did go to Norfolk Southern on that.
Okay. I didn't figure they cared.
They've been a little busy of late, so.
Yeah, probably.
Got some stuff going on.
So this, the VD11, and where it is at, the end of North Ave.
Right.
And the trucks turn and they take out the signs, all the signs that are put there. So I was just
Oh, right,
wondering,
the corner?
yeah, is that a proposed new spot, or like, are you?
That is a new proposed spot. And again, that one's, I would take these with a grain of salt, they're all accurate within 100 feet, right? I mean, so until we're literally physically out there walking, and we're looking at the traffic flow. Part of it you have to be, part of it is you also can't block state route signage, right? So we couldn't put it in front of it because then you could potentially block. So you gotta put, and that might just be when we say, well, we're just gonna move this one someplace else, right? So there's lots of different places you can put it.
You can't piggyback on the state route sign, correct?
Yeah.
No, not on a route sign. We can piggyback with like the parking, right? Like, cause it's a parking directional arrow. We can't piggyback with anything that has textual direction on it.
Okay.
Hoping that was an easy fix, but of course not.
Well, and I think that's why, like, this conversation and working with DPW is important, so we can kind of like identify those places where, like, it might look good, but like, is it really gonna be functional? Is it really, or is it gonna create some kind of issue?
And it all looks different when you're putting a dot on a map or when you're actually putting in a rendering and you can visualize it and see, okay, well, that makes sense, or no, that doesn't make sense, we gotta switch that a little bit. So.
Everything looks good on paper.
Put a new sign and have the first truck rip it out.
Is there a board member that's the DPW person, like, for the department? Okay, that's you, Charles? All right. Because I have talked to Fred about this, like, I didn't send this to him yet, but I will send it to him, but he knows, like, what's coming down the pipeline. Connor's been really great about, like, connecting with DOT, so I think we'll be able to, like, kind of get, like, all of those things really figured out, but again.
Yeah, my email is on this.
Yeah.
Send
All right, we'll let you guys get to your other stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, and, you all have my email, and you can
Yep.
stop in my office, so really, even if it's like a small thing, please feel free to like get in touch with any comments and thoughts and concerns that you have.
And, just keep us posted when the committee meeting.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, I'll just include you and everyone in that, and then if you wanna come, and we'll just kind of get down to the nitty gritty and just get it done.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
No
you.
voting if you got some.
Yeah, well, you won't count it.
I still will have at least 4.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next on the schedule is Hunt.
Gonna pull up, the art park layout for us. We can skip most of this, and we'll jump right to the, right there you go. Yeah, if you could zoom in as much as you can on that main area there, the notes aren't really important.
Oh, come on, I was gonna read every one too.
Most of them,
Spelling.
most of them are still wrong.
Are they
This
on
is
the
North
cameras?
Ave.
Yeah. Zoom out. Give me one more back. So really, this is the main concept. You know, in terms of engineering drawings, you know, this view really isn't going to change much. So what we're really here to talk about is how to translate this from, you know, just the generic engineering, like this is how it's built, to people are going to go there and say, hey, this is definitely an art park. So previously we had talked about, you know, making the park itself functional, you know, getting all of the things in the park that need to make it accessible, to provide parking, to make sure that we're meeting all the flood standards, and then trying to apply some artistic flair or some artistic twists on various items. So if you really look at this, we kind of have 4 main areas. So we've got the north and the south, we've got the drive access, and then we've got the center.
Yeah, so this is Central Ave, this is North Ave.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sideways, okay.
Yeah, that's what the fire.
Right.
Yeah, so the steamer,
Yeah.
you can see the pad right up there to the right by the Y in preliminary. So there's already 2 existing kind of retaining walls there that are sloping down. We're essentially adding / replacing 2. So on this side, there will be, you know, this is going to be a large, almost 12-foot retaining wall. On the other side, it's going to be around 7 foot. And part of that is because we need to be able to provide a ramp to make these ADA accessible. And in order to do that, we have to provide a level of grading down, and that grading takes up space, displaces floodwaters. We have to make that up by essentially retaining more. So a couple of our ways that we're potentially adding some artistic flares here is we have those 2 retaining walls. We could do something with them. We could leave them blank, just put a clean concrete surface on that, and then provide and try to intermingle the local art committee and say, hey, do you guys want to bring in muralists? Do you want to bring in someone to do something with this?
I think we'll leave it blank. We're gonna have some artists.
Well, ideally, they'll come in during construction.
I'm not talking about.
That's not what he's talking about.
But, I mean, it could be something that we
I'm not
change
starving
every
on
year,
this.
you know, different groups.
Yeah, and that's kind of the upside of something like that is that, you know, you can evolve. If something gets there that really speaks to everybody and stays there for years, like okay, maybe that's fine. But it also is an opportunity to provide a cycle of artwork that can be reused and redone. You guys can also go with something. Some of the finishes that we provided were, you know, I hope you guys had a moment to at least look at some of these. So some like just kind of asymmetrical rough rock type finishes, something that is just aesthetically pleasing to look at, but not necessarily purely artistic in nature.
Well, that might be nice on the North Avenue side.
Yeah.
But I think
Well,
Liberty Street should be,
Yeah.
Central Ave should be flat.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't have to do anything like, you know, uniform across it. We can be pretty flexible in what we put where.
And
That's
those
kind of,
finishes are still a concrete wall, but stamped.
yeah, like
Right.
this is still just a normal concrete wall. That top is just a facade that
Right.
they kind of put over it with the finishing.
We didn't get this rock wall sort of a thing in our email. We got like.
No, we didn't get that, but
fencing,
that would be nice
benches.
on North Ave.
Yeah,
That was,
I think.
this was sent before,
Put it in this white canvas.
this was sent, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, but, I can resend it, that's fine.
Oh, sorry.
But like another one of our options was like along the paint wall was actually applying a chalk type paint to it. So it would be a maintenance thing, we'd have to keep up on it over time. But one of the desires was to have the art park have some interactive nature. So I mean, you had something like that, that's definitely something where kids could come down and draw on it and color on it. If there is, you know, a particular event coming down, it'd be a really great opportunity for an artist to come down and do something temporary that is very cool, and you don't really have to keep up with the maintenance or anything like that much. festival every year with chalk that does it. It's always a really big turnout. Something like that is something you guys could do as well if you wanted to segment it into different mural sections and have people come down and do it. Even some of the kids, like maybe from elementary schools or middle schools, come down and give them sections of it. They could do a small art show there or something. The goal with all of this stuff is to try to provide a space that people are going to use and do something so that this space doesn't just become a pain in the butt maintenance issue.
So James, what's on the Central Avenue wall side? What are those? Are those ramps coming down there? What's
So this top area right here is just a sidewalk.
the top little thing with the little things is the sidewalk? Okay.
Yep, so directly adjacent, and then you can see the access there, that's a ramp going down.
From this, okay, so that's the,
Down here.
Yeah,
is that double ramp? Is it ramp partway down and then farther down? You know what I'm talking
it's
about?
just one path.
It's enough to fit a wheelchair.
Yeah, I mean.
That's not what I'm asking. So from here to there, is that half of the descent
No,
of the ramp?
that's straight. From all the way across from here to here, that's all flat.
This is the sidewalk up the top.
Yep.
This next piece is down. This starts at street level. Is that halfway down and then it goes down some more, or is that all the way down and the next level?
No,
It's about halfway down.
halfway down.
That's
yeah.
That's almost 12 feet
Yep.
in order to meet that with 5% ADA.
No, I'm just asking which way it is.
Yeah, and that's why it's so long, is it
Yeah,
needs to
okay.
have all of that space.
And there's no steps, that's all ramp.
It's all
okay.
ramp.
There's steps on this side.
Yep, there are steps
There's
on
steps
the,
over here
the north
and a
side.
ramp, steps and a ramp over there.
Yeah, the drop up there is only about 7.5 feet. So we don't need quite as long as a ramp to get through there. And then the stair gives us an opportunity to have just,
That's an
Next question, what's all this stuff up here on the right?
that is existing property. That's the steamer pad.
No,
steam
I
house
understand
pad.
that. Below that, there's a,
That's an existing fence. That's not our property. That's area that we have to stay off.
that is our property.
Yeah, it is now.
It is, yeah.
Our property stops here, goes straight up. So that little chunk in there is our property. To the left there with that arrow. So that whole chunk in there is ours.
Okay.
We took that with the steamer building thing. We swapped them,
That's right.
we swapped them this for this.
Okay.
Reminds me a little bit of Ithaca.
So that was the
Straight up.
fence kind of area that I had
Yeah.
sent those emails and I
The fence
said,
has to come down.
what's happening
What's
with all this space? Yeah.
Reminds
So-
me of Ithaca.
So we can take that fence off, but I'll tell you, the way this is right now, all we're gonna do is take that off and just grass
That's
it.
some project.
We're not gonna do anything crazy in that area, especially with it being so close to someone else's property line. Do you guys want a continuous fence on that side to separate the property lines?
Yes.
We want a fence and we want, I can't speak for everybody, we want a fence and we want a tall fence and we want it to be solid. Between us
Should
and.
that be our responsibility or the?
Well, that's a good question.
I believe we made that agreement when we transferred properties, that they would
That they would do
maintain
it.
a 10-foot or
I
whatever.
thought so too.
Yeah.
Because so
We would do the non-visual through.
Applied Technologies, the reason they swapped us this for the steamer house is because they have dumpsters back here for metal shavings and stuff.
Yeah.
So their plan, they want to be able to back a dumpster truck down this driveway to get their dumpsters out. They had a driveway out to North Ave, but that was problematic because of North Ave.
Yeah.
So that was the whole reason that they swapped us the steamer house for this slice of land that goes out to Central.
Gotcha.
Because it's a lot easier for them. And I think in that, like Ron said, in that agreement, they had to put a big tall fence here.
Alright, when we say, you kind of seen some of the emails back and forth between them and kind of got some weird, I don't know sort of answers, like I think
Yeah.
it's they put the ball back in your guys' court as far as I seen for that fence. So I'd like to follow up if that's the case, because we're gonna wanna get that built.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time that
How long ago was that, Rusty?
Do which part?
That we swap that land?
Well, we've been in the
Long time ago.
process of it for a couple of years. I hope it's final, but I believe it's finalized now. You believe that they're responsible for the offense?
I believe that was part of the agreement we had when we swapped property. Yeah, I mean, we'd have to read the contract, but
Boy, I don't remember them being responsible for it, but they may be.
I think so. But we can
I
check
was
that.
thinking so too.
So if they're not
Regardless,
responsible,
we need a fence there.
if they're not responsible for it, we need, and I don't know what the terms were of that, but we need my opinion, we need a tall fence there so you can't hardly see their stuff. And we need it to be solid so you can't see through it.
Yeah, I would
And then,
agree.
because we talked about this, and then that can be another canvas for us.
Okay.
So we're gonna need to know whether we,
We definitely need a fence there, because I mean, they're planning on backing trucks in there, so.
Yeah,
Right, actually, what they
generally it's gonna
do,
be ugly.
actually, what they do today, they come down this driveway, and they back their truck in through the mud.
They do what?
In the art park.
and do what?
They go through our property now.
Oh, they do it now,
Yeah,
but they're not going to.
they're not gonna be able to.
They're gonna have to build their own ramp later.
So that's why we did
That was
this
part of
driveway.
the issue. This is a property, is on driveway.
So on the notes here, it talks about a double slide, a tunnel, what's that stuff?
Ignore the notes. It's copy and paste stuff. That's why these are preliminary drawings. Those are notes that were copied from Marvin Park. They kind of get slopped on the drawings in the process of doing everything. So those notes in there that say
They'll all get
stuff,
changed.
yeah, they'll all get changed to match the set of drawings the way it is.
So do you have costs for these plans?
Well, part of that is kind of figuring out where our finishes are gonna be in the directions. We're not making final decisions today, like if you say you want that more rock hewn type, aesthetic surface as opposed to a flat, like that's all stuff that I'll work into my numbers as I go, and I'll lay it out and kind of go from there. But I mean, we still need to do stormwater, like stormwater pollution prevention stuff for this area to make sure that we're gonna be within budget for that. But what we're trying to do is kind of select the direction that we wanna go and then try to fit that in as we go. Does that make sense, or?
I'm not happy at it, at the plan because I don't think it meets the purpose. Like there's no art, for people, to draw them to it. So this is just this grassy area, but like there's no lighting or sidewalks or like paths prepared where art could be. And murals don't count because they're just paint projects.
Okay, there's 3 stands for potential sculptures that could go. Ideally, we will commission them from local artists would be the goal. There's an insurance question there, and there's a matter of, bringing in the art committee on that kind of stuff and debating on, where the costs from that are really gonna come from.
But what's the budget? Like I think we should be looking at like the art first and then building around that. And like, I just see, like, there's nothing growing there now. So like, we'd have to bring in like dirt and grass to have all that in there and the plantings and stuff. And I think it's just throwing all the money into, maintenance things. And we wanted something that was art, that was gonna, people might see, pull over and stop and enjoy Owego and be, meet revitalization goals. And right now, it's like, there's nothing about it.
Oh, James, on the North Avenue side, those 3 circles, that's where those podiums would be?
No, those are trees.
Those are trees?
There's 3 podiums. Yeah, 1,
There's the little circles down there.
2, 3.
And then this is like a. pad.
Okay, yeah, I got you, I see them. Thank you.
And is that middle still a concrete, something?
Do we have my
So
slab?
the
for-
center area is completely grass at the moment.
So
we
no
were
slab
talking
for
about a
potential,
concrete
no
pad
slab
there.
for potential later, performing arts. We talked about a slab, but not a building.
Yeah, a slab is just a waste of money. Anything you put in there for a building would end up having to be torn out, like that would have to be torn out to put something in after the fact. Just a flat concrete slab.
Yeah, didn't we talk about
Yeah, we
that?
were
As
talking
a- as
about putting
potentially
concrete
later
slab
we
with
put.
Yeah, with electric, so
Later
we
we
put
have-
a stage.
Later we put
Farmer's
a
market
tent
down
over
there.
it, or a cardboard over it, or something simple over it, if we.
Display ice sculptures.
Okay,
We
I thought
talked about this
that
last
numerous
time.
times.
I mean, I can put a concrete pad in there, that's not a huge change one way or another.
I mean, not the whole thing, we were talking about, back towards,
James, we had talked about this a number of times about, I know that this is supposed to be the circle and proportion stuff, but we've talked about something over this way for a slab so that the seating from there and some seating from here could look in at the potential thing down the line for performing arts. So something where that middle part is, something 45 degrees up that way a little bit. Yeah, something in there so that that seating thing that we were planning on there, and we talked about some seating over here. We had talked about that, didn't mean it was decided on.
There's no seating along that side that you're talking about. There's just an existing retaining wall that was not built by us, and then flat surface.
Right up there where Mike is
the
going.
steamer house there.
The steamer house is going to build
seating.
seating there for us.
Not based on the plans I see.
From the hose company?
Yeah, from what they sent me, it's just 2 walls of slope.
No, they haven't,
On this surface, they were
they're
supposed to do like a stepped.
it's gonna be stepped, and they have the concrete pieces to put in there to make it into that.
They've got the pieces there right now.
What's that?
It's just a pretty picture rendering, I believe.
What is?
What they thought the art walk was gonna, or the art park was gonna be, they just put that picture.
Yeah, it's hard to
together.
imagine that
was just, wasn't actually part of the plan.
Two-dimensional.
I might know.
Yeah, this surface of it was supposed to be like a stepped, like wide though.
I mean, I seen that in some of the renderings way back when.
Is that actually in their plans though?
No. So that's what the plans I was seeking out to get was so that I could figure out where to put the stair coming down.
Right, because you actually got their drawings from Delta.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows a sloped surface. That's it.
I thought they had those concrete pieces there
Yeah, you
already.
have
There were
50 of those
pictures.
sitting there waiting to go into that.
I know. And they were-
Yeah, but it's just a stacked wall.
Okay.
I know they were building just a
They were
2-level wall
downstairs.
back on this side. And then
Well,
you're gonna do a 3 or 4 or
I don't
5
know.
of this here.
I will know tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I mean, something like that is gonna come out significantly farther than what they have shown on the plans right now. So if that's the case, that's something I certainly need to know.
By code for seating,
What's that?
by code for seating, you mean? It would
I
have to
mean-
come out further if it were.
No, you get into kind of a weird gray area here because it's exterior. It's not really meant for being ADA accessible. I mean, what they're doing is a stacked wall that can be used for seating, but isn't necessarily its primary use. So it kind of lands in a gray area there. But just as far as being, structurally designed, right now the slope is a 3-to-1. I know that because that's standard for, if you're bringing down something, 3-to-1 is what you do for it to be stabilized with grass, and that's it. And that's what it shows on the drawings that they have. So if they want to do, a tiered seating, it's going to show much harsher contours that cut and stop and then go out. And then it has to have a beginning and an end to that, because at some point the grade has to tie into that.
Because that's what
We're basing all this on.
We'll
Yeah,
know
that's
this
what
tomorrow.
we've been talking about from the beginning.
What's Bruce got? Because you've looked at this property a million times.
Well, yeah, the whole arts park was kind of
Yeah.
brainchild there, but.
Behind the townhouses. No, that was a good plan. That was a good plan, Bruce.
Bigger
That was a good plan.
proposal, but it didn't go anywhere. But- And I'm sorry, because I'm kind of entering into this, late. I was just invited here by Jim, like, half an hour ago.
Yeah, we happen to be in the gym bill together, that's all.
But anyways, North Avenue, north and south, that's your main, focal point, especially coming south, right? And you got trees there. And going north, it's harder to appreciate what's going on. But when you're coming into town, that's where you're gonna really get your visual. And, if you're talking about an arts park, I mean, what Laura was saying about, where's the art? It's like,
Yeah, so
where is the art? I mean,
So
okay,
here's
trees
something I'll
are
throw out
nice,
to you
but.
guys,
out of budget.
real quick regarding that. You guys can get into a pit fight about that again, if you want to. We've been over this a lot.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you guys are changing direction here as a board on me, you guys gotta figure out what you want. So, previously, the idea was we were gonna make this as functional as we can, try to take whatever money we had left and start putting some artistic twists on it. That's the point I'm at now, is where I've kind of distributed out some emails that says, here's some of the artistic twists we can put on it. We can do some sculptures with the benches, we can do some regular seating with it as well. I provided some lighting fixtures for you guys to look at as well for the different things. The idea is, here's the place, make it usable, then kind of add art flair onto it. That was what we settled after several months of kind of back and forth, putting it to the side, coming back to it. Now, if that's something that has kind of changed, that's drastically different. Like, I'm revisiting these plans again. If you guys want this built at any time in the near future, of course has to.
A lot of the stuff to make it functional is not cheap. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
to retain.
this wall back here is gonna be $40,000 probably.
And I have a question on that also. So for the ADA compliant, you have this long ramp there on the steep side of the, is there a reason it was chosen to be on the back side instead of the front side, so to speak?
There's a ramp on the front also.
Do you need to have both?
No.
Strictly speaking, no. I mean, technically, since you have handicap parking, you don't need either of them. But then you're forcing anybody who has a handicap to either park or go down the non-handicap accessible drive area to access the space.
And for us, we didn't have this, so we did look at, a ramp is cheaper than stairs.
Significant.
Yeah, a lot cheaper. So if you have parking here and you wanna weigh in, you almost kind of need a ramp.
Why not just have the entrance on Central Avenue, period? Then you avoid having to have a ramp on North Avenue.
Right, so
Parking's
this is
gonna
the
be on
ramp
Central
we actually
Avenue.
don't need, but.
And the one thing.
We had originally, one of our thoughts, we thought we were gonna have a wide staircase in the top there in the middle. It was gonna come down, and the reason it was gonna come down there was to meet up with the ramp seating of the, that was gonna meet, it was gonna come down of the steamer house, and that, as that stairway came down, there would be access into those various levels of the seating there. That was the thought there. And we were gonna have a ramp in the back. One of the reasons for the ramps was that the retaining walls are very expensive. The ramp, you just put a bunch of dirt angled down, and you put the ramp on it. So, and back to the art, I'm going a million places, just to structurally make this thing is taking up the budget or more than the budget we have. So to try and get that art in there, we don't even know how we'd be able to make this thing if we had to put any significant money into the art out of this chunk of money. That's part of that reasoning. And I say, we had different reasonings about ramp and one other, but this is, originally the ramp in the rear was not gonna be flat like that. It was gonna be angled down on dirt. Isn't that what you were talking about?
Yeah, the problem with that is you have to add a significant amount of dirt to do that.
Yep.
And so at that point, we're adding 1,200 cubic volume into the area. That floodwater gets displaced somewhere else.
And even though we don't have that law, which we may have again,
Well, we have the bigger law.
but we still have we still have other laws about filling up a hole and displacing water. Yeah, so that's problematic. Everything's problematic.
When you're talking about that.
Well, another thing we're talking about too, art-wise, is that oval walk, make that decorative, you know, like the fireman's,
Like stamped.
yeah, design in it, like the.
Yeah, it's another concept. Again, so there's kind of the idea like, okay, are we gonna make that a stamped pathway? Do we want it to resemble a river? Where are some of the ideas of this going towards? That was my kind of focus coming in with this. Like, I presented kind of two different types of light fixtures. One was, just a straight pole, but you guys can play around with potential color on the exterior of it. Another one was much more expensive curved lighting that promotes most of the lighting pointing inward, so that you feel like you're walking along a lighted path as opposed to walking in a lighted park. There's different ways and different feels you can kind of get that.
I have a question. With the art that's supposed to be in the park, are we supposed to buy the art, or are there like artists, do you know of artists that donate, like sculptures that wanna be seen?
Artists are tradesmen. I mean, they don't wanna donate any.
Well,
Charles, we're not
donate.
supposed to do anything, we would get, we'd have to decide what we're gonna do. I'm just saying, we're not
Is that
required,
beyond
we're not
budget?
required to
Is
do
that
this in a
the idea?
particular way, we can have art there for a week, we can have art that's,
So-
that would be up to us.
So there's kind of two different thoughts there seems to be here, like whether or not the artist purchased or whether or not artistic attributes are added seems to be a different aspect. But in order to do something like this, like take a large chunk of the budget and purchase art and put it into this, you would have to basically just flatten all this out, not have any new parking, maybe not do the access, like, I mean,
I don't know if they'd give us money if we, like,
We
so
have
the
to
parking
create
is
parking.
in the money.
It was in our thing to create parking,
Yeah.
and in fact, we're not actually even gonna create as many spots
No.
as we were kind of supposed to, but we're probably gonna get away with that.
They had
We
an
can
actual
create
number of
more there
spots.
on Central Avenue.
What's that?
We can create more spaces there on Central Avenue.
Not without
Yeah,
the-
Not really. But that right there is about as many spaces as you can put on Central Avenue.
What about North Avenue? Can you put parking on that side?
No, it's.
There is parking on North
No,
Avenue.
I know, but onto the site.
Oh, to try and
No.
put, you know what? Boy, I wouldn't like that, I wouldn't like parallel, not parallel, but, that kind of parking, horizontal parking, whatever. I wouldn't like that there, because I wouldn't want people backing in and out of North Avenue.
Yeah.
And their problem is the amount of fill you have to put in.
Then you gotta fill it in.
so we're kind of doing both of them, because you can't, because like, while this meets the standard of having like a couple of them that are sculpture, also seating, also interactive, what we kind of wanted to meet for that, there are people who can't really sit on things like these, so we do want to intersperse a couple more typical style seating. So I think currently, so 4, 7, 4, 6, yeah. So 4 of these we would be looking at, like, you know, these more unique sculpture type seating areas, where 2 of them would be a more traditional seating space.
I got another thought on the parking.
So you guys who might not have seen any of this stuff.
So the roadway that goes east and west, I don't know if it's an actual road or drive.
It's a driveway that's partly privately owned.
Right, but I mean, it's a concrete, well, I think it's concrete.
It's crap now, it's dirt now, but it will be asphalt or whatever.
So if that was accessible and there was parking, perpendicular parking along that.
Can you see
There's a little.
the middle handicap parking right there in the center of that?
Yep.
Okay, so you're talking about making more.
The whole thing perpendicular, now that's at grade, I know, I understand, but parking doesn't have to be completely level. You know,
Can be done, although that whole piece is not very big, and when you do that, you're just taking another 20 foot or a bunch of feet away from the size of the park.
yeah, right here, yeah, 20 feet, that's all deep there.
Yeah, so that's probably not
Saving any money for art.
No.
So, James, one of the reasons why I wanted a concrete slab, and actually, to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind having more than a concrete slab. I don't know who's seen them wherever, up in Ithaca by the skating rink, Cass Park there is a tent kind of structure, I don't know how to, it's a tent, but it doesn't come all the way down to the ground, you know what I'm talking about, it's got little fingers, and I like those things.
Sails kind of
What's that?
like a wind sail or sun.
Well, it's a full tent, so, but the point I'm getting at is that, that's one of the reasons I wanted some concrete things in there, because I want us to be able to make some not permanent, not so expensive structures. And one of the reasons for that is to put, other than waterproof art at these 3 things with sculptures, you want some art that's not so waterproof, and you need to put it under some kind of a roof. But I don't want us to build, we already know how much expensive it would be to build structures there, and we also know there's problematic to have them there permanent. But anyways, that's the reason for some of the pad or pads is to sometime be able to put art underneath a roof.
Canopy.
Sale.
What's that?
You don't say.
The sale, like, out at the Hickories, that's a great big one of those. Anyway,
Or just have
That's
something
another
solid to put the art on.
I'm sorry?
Or just have something solid.
Well, yeah, that was the reason for the slab, or slabs, for the future of that, and
Someday when we get art.
when we get some art, and some art, once again, other than absolutely waterproof art.
Well, or shows, or even sales, or whatever, tables, I mean, something you can do.
If we have some farmers markets down there, or one of them stupid auctions, or
Yeah,
anything like that.
yeah.
But, or have, yeah, and obviously, because many of us want that to have the ability to have performances there. So that's still a piece of it's in our mind.
Around the pad.
I do agree with Bruce's, the trees at North Ave. I mean, we are hiding a big chunk of the park from people coming in. Depending on what kind of trees you use, how big the foliage is, I mean.
Well, that's,
Maybe like
the
a
one
shrub
thing I
type
was,
thing? Low.
because the original
Yeah, I mean,
concept was you come
A
out to
lot
town.
really,
Yeah.
they
It's a
laid
real-
that out,
a
so
local
I couldn't
point,
tell you
a
exactly
real
what.
opportunity to say
what
something.
was for what.
And so,
Maybe something on the road
pictures,
for,
you know, an artistic
This is just a schematic,
message.
and even that,
You
It's
don't
nice
wanna
to have
hide
something
it.
to see there, right?
You want it
yeah, I
to
mean,
like,
there's
bang,
definitely
it's in your face, you see it.
Yeah.
They have there,
Make it
only
stop
show
and
contour
like,
lines.
look
It's
over.
like,
You don't
whoa,
wanna
and there's
cause an
a
accident.
parking spot right there, you just pull over.
So I mean, that's like that's a nice rendering,
Oh,
that's not an
yeah.
engineering.
Private project, DRI money to take care of that piece of crap building that's right up there.
Big artistic
signs
signs,
talk
stop
about
here.
That's what happens. But he's saying that that's an idea, not a.
A big finger.
So that, yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm going to tell you tomorrow, that was the plan right there.
Yeah, yeah,
You say that's not a
Can I see that?
engineer's plan, but that's what we were sold.
Yeah, and I get that. But it's like, that's why I keep telling you guys, you guys look at this and you're like, where's the art, where's the decoration? Well, this is an engineering plan. You're not gonna see that stuff on.
I'm not saying where's the art, I'm not.
But, similarly to that, that's the other end of the spectrum. That's to sell you on a prediction. That's not actually what's being built. That doesn't have a cross section showing
Considering
walls
that's still our
stacked.
property, they may as well just stick to the blueprints.
Well, that's,
But the blueprints might be different than that picture.
Actually have it.
But I mean, that's what they sold us, it's still our property.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna have events there,
That would be how you.
farmers market, art shows, whatever, where are people gonna go to the bathroom?
That's what the water filtration system is.
You know,
where does it go to?
you don't, you don't wanna spend the money to put a bathroom in.
yeah.
Because that's gonna cost a fortune. You know, and the gas station doesn't let people use the public bathroom anymore.
Well, if there was some sort of an event, we could always.
We'll have some porta
get a porta
potties.
potty.
We talk about
So I
that.
got trees.
We talk about bathrooms.
Yeah,
You have an idea how much our bathroom at
that's why I said, you don't wanna put a bathroom in there because it costs a fortune, but if you're gonna have things there, you gotta have a contingency for a bathroom.
Oh, we do, they're called portalets, and over a certain amount of people, we have to bring them in for any events.
Where do they go?
I mean, I would say like farmers markets, right now it's in, Rite Aid parking lot or whatever it is nowadays.
Yeah.
They're not too happy with them there.
They don't have bathrooms there either, so.
That's from Pat's, yeah.
Yeah, there's no bathroom on Hyde Park, no bathroom.
That would be a good thing. Our farmers market.
They gotta go before they come.
It would be nice to be able to use it functionally or something.
That's not appropriate.
James, I think the basic design is good.
Yeah, we're here to get beyond the basic design.
Well,
Which I mean, I appreciate, yeah, I'm at the point where I'm gonna come up with a budget, I'm gonna see how much is left over, and I'm gonna try to spend that. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to get some feedback on.
So what's the old, James has to ask some stupid questions, but what's the old made out of?
Well, so let's talk about that. What is it made out of?
Yeah.
So personally, I'd like to see something that is close to like a permeable paper. So like something that mixes grass with the pavers. It's a nice solid surface you can walk on,
That's
stack
what
something,
people
but it also makes it very
Yeah.
easy for water to drain down underneath it. We're not gonna have any water issues. It's not gonna get
Well,
muddy
at some
either.
point, they're supposed to
But it's also not a hard surface because hard surface is shed water. And in the middle
Oh,
of
I
that.
see, so maybe that's what they're doing.
Something that's easily mowed and-
Yeah, you'd be able to mow right over it. It wouldn't affect it at all.
Yeah, and of course, we haven't, because it's way more complicated, we're just trying to get
When I was
very
originally
basic
looking
here.
at this.
But, there's a mess there, the driveway comes down, and at the bottom of that driveway, there's, whenever there's any kind of rain or anything, there's a giant pile of water all over the place.
Yeah, and that's fine. We're not gonna be able to.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're not gonna be able to
So,
do much about that
No,
overall
it's different
because
than-
water doesn't go anywhere. I mean, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to land water base gravel and kind of get this someplace so that unless you guys get a massive storm, most of the water should stay down. But the fact is, this is a bowl and it has no drainage throughout. So, yeah, so I mean, the general idea is to not, is to minimize as opposed to fight against. So install stuff that's not gonna be hurt long term. Like chances are, one of the reasons it's gonna make your walls pretty expensive is you're probably gonna need epoxy rebar. That's, you know.
Sounds expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it just protects it from corrosion, you know, there's gonna be a lot of water.
The
that goes
back
on.
corner, back here, this is Central Ave, right? I mean, that could be dug out further and you put gravel in there with cattails
This is
and
all,
other.
this is all already flat.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
there's a
that could be,
retaining wall right there.
that could be, dug down deeper for water to.
Yeah, but the water then ends up being stored there and you end up getting mosquitoes
Yeah,
and.
you don't want
it-
stagnated.
Like it,
You said cattails, that ain't pretty.
yeah, so, well, I mean, there, I don't
Just
wanna.
like at the elementary school, they've got that gravel.
I was gonna say, I don't wanna make it sound like I'm dismissing it completely, because essentially what you're talking about is a rain garden. Cutting out the sections, and then instead of, you know, you fill it up a little bit with gravel, and then you have some soil, and you'll have some general plantings, and overall, it's not really a walking space, and some water will go there. And we'll look into those kind of things more as we get into the stormwater prevention and pollution plan. At that point, you guys won't have a lot of say on what we can do, because it's what we have to do based on New York State standards, like there. So we'll try to, you know, get some input as far as, you know, obviously if we do have to put a rain garden in, how big it is, where it goes, something like that. My goal right now is to not put something like that in, just because they do tend to fill up with water, they get mosquitoes in them, they become nasty. The planting tends to be high maintenance, so if they die out, now you just have a big bucket there. So if someone's not taking care of the different plant life and stuff, you need to kind of foster a mini ecosystem in itself. So it can be kind of tricky.
Mike, are we closed and done? Property is transferred, is it done?
That's a good question.
Because I know every time we find out, it's never quite done. Okay.
When those pavers on the oval, depending on what kind of base we use, is that gonna be very permeable? I mean, you have to have a certain amount of compact for the pavers to stay in place.
Yeah, but as long as you use larger material, it becomes porous. I mean, it'll be, the pavers themselves will have joints and stuff.
Right,
water will
so I
go.
know there's gonna be grass in the middle, and you still want the grass to grow, and there's where my conundrum comes in.
Yeah, so if you only have about 12 inches of soil, that's plenty enough for the grass to grow and not really have any harm. The water will still soak right through it like a sponge.
I just picture this little checkerboard in my mind where it's compact, it's dirt, it's compact, it's dirt, and that just seems like a big pain in the ass.
Well, just because something is compacted doesn't mean that it's impervious. So like you can have, so like when we do that gravel down there, that'll be compacted, you'll be able to stand on that and it'll be firm. But it's still bigger material, I mean, it's like golf balls, if you have them in a bowl, I mean, water can still get in there, and that's what it'll
I
be.
think we all remember that science lesson.
So what is all right, so I asked you what the big oval is gonna be made of. So the little ovalish thing in the middle, what's that gonna be?
That is a contour.
I'm sorry, that's what?
That's a contour line, that's not.
So there is no oval thing in the
That's
middle?
where
So
the
there
water's
is-
gonna collect in the middle.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's generally the water is gonna shed towards the middle. Like we'll have
Okay.
essentially when I design this for the stormwater, once I do those calculations, it'll be almost like a cone. That'll be the low point in it, the water will wanna go there, and it'll fill up outward as it goes. That way, if that middle isn't filled, you won't get any water on the outside either.
what you actually said about a checkerboard, that's a great idea. What if we have a pad that's shaped like a checkerboard that we can put stuff on when needed, like, but also it will actually dub as a checkerboard. We have giant pieces. I mean, it's art, right? You have giant
chess sets
pieces,
like that.
chess sets and checker
I
chips.
see cosplay, Charles. I'll show up as the rook.
Well, they have that medieval thing, so we can do that. I don't know where I'll get a horse to be a knight though. But it's an idea, I mean, that just hit me, a brainstorm, you just.
As far as impervious surfaces and stuff go, I mean, you could do a lot with them. The more intricate you get, the more expensive it gets, obviously.
One color, another color.
Well, but then you're talking about putting, so how big are we talking?
I don't know, as big as we need a pad for, right? I mean, if we're gonna put a pad, we don't just wanna, like.
Pad they're talking about is a concrete.
I know,
surface,
yeah,
not
but
a
don't you
impervious.
we have something else that's in between that and porous, because you can have a flat surface that's gonna hold water. You wanna be able
Usually
to
try
soak.
slope it so that it
Yeah.
protects off of it.
I don't know, something in between there, but it also could be used to put tables on. I mean, it's strong enough and sturdy enough to put tables on and set it up for, ice sculptures or something like that. But in the summertime, you have the kids down there, I mean.
Sand castles.
I mean, there's so many different things that it could be used for.
Yeah.
Instead of just one particular thing, slab. You have something else, you look and say, oh, look at that checkerboard, who's got the pieces?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I don't think it's a bad idea.
I don't have enough friends to play chess.
I know, right?
All right, so all the stuff around the oval is gonna be grass stuff, kind of stuff. I know we got the little things there, but mostly grass and trees.
Yeah.
That's, boy, I wouldn't mind having 3 or 4 things inside that oval. One thing up, I said up there, 45 degrees, that's whatever, facing where we might have some seating. Maybe 2 or 3 other things that can have stuff on them if we want, that can have those 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 snap ups on them for something that could have farmer's market in there, that could be used for.
So not to throw fuel on the fire, but it sounds like we're saying this is the basic thing, but we want more, but we don't have money for art.
Well, we get rid of that ramp at the bottom, right?
That whole southern side, so that handicap parking that we have down there isn't handicap anymore. We just get rid of that and then.
Yeah, we got the handicap thing on the top there.
We got
that,
handicap
right?
in the middle.
You said you don't need it because whatever, so there's money right there.
How many handicap spots do we have
How
down
many
there?
people are gonna have?
You have 2 in the middle and
those
2 at the
areas.
top.
Okay.
Handicap day.
Mike,
I just don't see that.
What?
What's up, Bruce?
Well, on the bottom where we have the parking, a couple handicap spots and all the ramps and sidewalks, that's where there's a steep grade there. That's 12 feet.
Well,
like you said.
there's a wall there. There's currently a wooden retaining wall.
Right, but if that was instead of, another option, if you're looking for some kind of atrium or seating area, could be built into that bank and then take care of that grade.
But would also.
Bruce, are you saying get rid of this ramp here, make that a grade down, and then you could put some seating along that grade
We did that on another
to face
job.
that
We
way?
just did it with riprap, and so the kids or whatever, the seating, the performance areas down where you have your main oval, but then you don't have the expense of all this, hardscape. It's done with grade and riprap and, so
Yeah,
it's
so that
seating built
we're still back in
into the grade that's already there.
Or we're still back with filling the hole in?
Yeah, we're still back in the flooding, so I got
No,
15.
not really, because the grade's already there.
The grade isn't there, that's what I'm saying. It's a 12, it's like basically
Oh,
a
you're
12-foot
saying
drop.
it's just
It's a straight drop.
There's
Okay.
a retaining wall there already that's wooden.
Yeah.
Our original plan showed almost exactly what you're talking about. And in the process of doing the grading, laying out the volumes, that's when I found out, well,
Over here right now, there are 4 or 5, but it doesn't matter, the number for effect, parking places that cars can go in right here, right now. And the wall past them is a little bit past them, and it's all deteriorated crap there. Down here, for whatever reason, it's not that deep. It's as if there was room for a parallel park down here with the wall on that parallel. So we're gonna make that go farther in to make room for these guys to park like this, as it is here. So that wall, the retaining's gotta be up there, something like that. Then you'd start from there, filling down at an angle that way. That would be the fill.
Right, but if you start, what I was getting at, you started basically at the curb line and started working your way down.
Then you couldn't park.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, that was what I was saying, give her the parking there.
I don't think we can for the DRI
Yeah, you need the
guidelines.
parking in order to have that.
They want a parking somewhere.
DRI says we're gonna make, for effect, 25 parking spots. And when I measured that out in various times, we can't even forget the handicap from where Allied's gonna own up to the driveway. We can't fit 25. I think it was 16 or 18 that I measured out could go.
We would have
I think it was 14.
Yeah, 14, yeah, it's not very many
We had to build a whole parking lot there, basically.
Yeah.
to do that. But we're gonna get away with not putting in as many as we said, but we're gonna have to put in
So,
a reasonable amount.
They gave us this budget, and most of it's being eaten up in the fundamentals.
Direct with the rules.
Right.
Well, so here's I guess the bottom line that I'm finding. You guys want something closer to a hard number for this before we get to any other things. I can say we're past the point where we can really redesign the layout, move parking around, change the slopes. Like, you guys want to build this summer. I mean, it's April. I'm trying to get this out to bid by May. I'm already like under the gun pretty hard trying to meet that. So what my goal will be is tomorrow, the first thing when I get in is I'm gonna get a hard number for you guys. I'm gonna look at this, I'll break down all the quantities, the numbers, the surfaces that we currently have and compare it to the budget. And then we can go from there.
and then this summer date comes because we have to spend all the DRI money by the end of the year.
Oh, really?
No, they held their money hostage.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's nice.
So
I mean, they'll probably give us an
I suspect
extension,
we
but,
don't,
say,
because how long it took Watkins Glen and others, they were way behind.
but right now the date is December 31st.
COVID was not
So
our
I don't
fault.
wanna give you guys false hope, but if this is something where you guys feel like we wanna chew this over more, still not happy with the final product, you should talk to Julie immediately, and she'll tell you, hey, yeah, we'll give you an extension. And then I can table this, I can get your other projects nailed out, done. But right now, I mean, between this Riverwalk, the trail, and I mean, Riverwalk is technically the river area, Draper Park, the 2 kayak launches. It's a lot of projects we're trying to get out right away. We kind of split them up. We got the parking in Marvin Park completed so that we could try to focus on this and have more time. We haven't made a whole lot of progress, it seems, compared to what I thought we were at.
I think our next meeting should be a field trip to this. We will be there and visualize it firsthand, you think?
So I want to attack a number of these things one at a time. And I want you to give us just a general feel of what we're sniffing at costs. So if we get rid of the parking, the handicap parking up here, we don't have it here anymore. And we get rid of the ramp. What are we talking there to not have so we still gotta have a wall here, but one way or the other, we gotta have a wall. We can't put the dirt there. So what are we talking about getting rid of the handicap and the ramp? Is that significant?
Well, the handicap parking isn't gonna save you anything.
No, not really.
I mean, the ramp will save you $200,000 maybe.
Okay. Up here, because we already know that there's, on the top, that there's it goes from North Avenue down. So we're gonna basically use that and not add a lot of fill or anything there
Yeah,
to make
exactly.
that,
So we're building a significantly smaller retaining wall on that side.
Yeah.
Just enough to keep so we can go down in grade and.
yeah.
and maintain
So
the
that's
5%.
whatever that is with the ramp that we're building there. Okay. So that's a thought, is to get rid of this handicap, which also gets us more parking spaces here. Get rid of this ramp. Handicap will be down there.
Is there a number of handicaps you need? Like a requirement?
Depends on who you're asking and why.
We're putting in,
So I'm going off the basis of this space technically doesn't serve any particular opening space. So by providing handicap based on the number of spaces that you're providing, that's what I'm doing. So you're under 25 spaces, you only really need 2.
So we can leave those
we
two down there.
could,
You
we
could
could probably
definitely
get 2 more in down at the bottom if we wanted.
Yeah, if you wanted to just make all of that handicap.
We can make 4 down there if we.
But then they're all handicapped down there.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a thought. Get rid of this, get rid of that retaining wall, saving money for things.
Getting rid of the ramp, not the retaining wall.
No, I didn't say it right. Of course we have to have the wall there. Get rid of that ramp, get rid of the handicap there. What else were we gonna change? I'd still like to see inside that oval. The ovals, you like the oval because it's pretty and it looks nice. I'd like to see in that oval a number of things that we can put something on. So I originally wanted 1 slab over here. Well, now maybe with the permeable stuff or something, we could put a couple other things.
Well, the permeable surface I'm talking about is just a 4-foot path around.
Okay.
Not doing that whole place.
No, not the whole place, 10 by 10, 12 by 12. Can you do that?
I mean, yeah, it can be done.
I'm just like the idea we can put some things there. And if we put a 12 by 12 thing there, and we had farmer's market, somebody can set their thing on it, and if we want to put later we want to put a 12-foot.
What's wrong with the concept of just putting things on grass? I feel like there's like a sense that you can't put things on
We've
grass.
already said it's gonna hold water, so it's gonna be.
Because we know what that looks, because we know what that place is like.
Set your things on top of the concrete pad that's surrounded by
Well,
water.
water doesn't just disappear, it comes in the mud and.
Yeah.
I mean.
We
Yeah.
know what a mess it
You
is.
have traffic, footing and all.
We know what a mess it is down there, because we've lived it for 50, 100 years.
It's the whole problem, the village as an entity,
It's a bowl.
water and mud.
How tall is that wall
Which side?
down there?
South is almost an
Oh,
Yeah, it's based off.
Can you show a movie on it?
Good.
Yeah, if you had if you did a wall and you had a clean surface on it, you could, any clean surface.
And you've got your little
Movie-
slab, and you got
movie in the park.
the little slab we want over there with the little tent that goes up that you can have
Put your
your
projector.
projector under and this and that, and a popcorn machine and blah, blah, yeah. That's, showing movies down there is possible.
It's a big white tarp.
Yeah.
You go right
We
over
already
the
got the movie
artwork,
projector, you got it.
remove it when you need it.
What's that?
We already got the movie projector, right?
I got the screen.
And we gotta find the ring, so.
That's the problem, because I wasn't in Fort Warren Park, but anyway.
Dave, anything on your mind on this?
Well, it's where the electrical outlet's gonna be. There will be electric in there.
We haven't got far enough to even talk about electric.
Yeah, that's.
So,
Issues of
Gotta be
band
some
or something like
electric
that,
there.
some music in the
yeah,
park.
I mean,
It wouldn't be in-ground, underground.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah,
Yeah, we have.
really,
no
you do that?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
water goes through conduit all the time, it's buried 2-3 feet down. They waterproof it.
I use that Romex.
The electric isn't a big deal. As far as the lighting, my kind of 2 concerns were, are we going to try to focus lighting on artistic pieces in there, or are we gonna try to put lighting around the whole pad area where it's more
Go
like.
strategically around so you can actually accomplish both. You can accomplish both. You have some in the middle and some like around the residential. I mean, you wanna keep the park lit.
Yeah, we do.
You want to path lighting.
There's a lot of
So
graffiti
you
on
want
there.
path lighting, but then.
Yeah,
you wanna-
that's also the grab of
Artistic.
the eye contact at night.
No.
Like, what's that light on? Oh, wow, look at that. But nothing to stop them. You don't want accidents on.
Mike, may I have the floor for a second? So, contacting Pat Gavin right now from the host team, and he's the player here. We will complete what is in the picture, which the picture that Jim just showed us, it has that bank seating, at no cost to anyone but the host team, and in fact, have already paid for
Material?
the wall. So, he's telling us he's gonna do it as that picture. I don't know about the adult engineer stuff, but that's what he's gonna do.
Can you ask him to forward the engineer who's working on this so that I can see where that lays out?
He says,
No, I can't, because I don't know how to work these.
he says that something was sent on March 7th.
Yeah, and on March 7th, they sent me a 3-to-1 sloped surface.
So that is the question, is how much of
I'm
the
just
park.
running the
Okay.
telegraph
Come
here.
on.
Yeah, no,
Give me a second, I can probably tell you who that is.
So again, let's get to these things a piece at a time. What do you think about the trees up on the top that Bruce has commented about it, blocking the view? And I think that Peter Gordon had also talked about that, about it blocking.
We shouldn't block it.
Well, it should be more like shrubs type thing. You're not talking about up on the sidewalk, right?
Tall
Yeah.
trees
Down
would be
in.
better.
Well, I mean, at sidewalk level up on that
That's almost street level.
patio there.
Oh.
Right, as soon as you're off the sidewalk, there'll be we'll call it a patio that's 10 feet, 12 feet wide, and that's where the trees would be.
I mean, tall trees would be better than like shrubs.
Yeah, I think the general idea was previously we talked about this being some sort of like seating area or viewing platform where you'd be up there and you could look down.
Yeah.
And so tall trees like that would provide you some level of shade and comfort in that zone.
And Fred will cut the branches right off of those trees.
I mean, the question with tall trees, honestly, is if you look at what we have in the village now, 50 years down the road, we have a lot of sidewalk issues.
Yeah, we do. We get root issues with bigger trees.
Yeah,
Oh, you get those
that'd
small-
be something I can run by them on as far as like,
If
I imagine they had that in mind when they, put it in a grate, it's right under sidewalk.
Or you
But I
get
can't
smaller
speak to that
bushes and
directly.
get
That
somebody
is
like
not-
Edward Scissorhands and cove them into animals and stuff.
I'm just trying to go one thing at a time, but that is not a big problem. If we don't want trees there, we can certainly not have trees there. That's no expense.
No big deal.
Okay, so that's one thing we're looking at, is that, we're looking at, drainage, which, blah, blah, blah. What do you think, what do you wanna do about the parking on the bottom and the ramp down? Do you wanna have just the handicapped inside, more spaces up on the top and no ramp, or do you want
I think
what we have here?
if it really saves us 200,000, that's a real number.
That's a real number.
86 to ramp.
Just get rid of that ramp and just put the two handicaps down there.
We'll still have that ramp.
Or four.
I'll say one thing to keep in mind currently is getting rid of that handicap ramp too, is once you park there, there's almost no way to actually get into the park from that side besides walking down along the road.
Yeah.
So if it's not ADA, can we just do a basic sidewalk down there, follow in the driveway? That wouldn't necessarily have to meet that 5%?
I'll have to check. You'd be looking at a pretty steep, I
As
mean,
a sidewalk
8-9% slope is pretty hefty, but.
For coming just down the road.
But if
Yeah, the road is 8%.
Yeah, but are you talking about on the side of it, building some steps down?
I'm talking a little sidewalk. I mean, I thought 8% was the
Yeah.
max you could do on ADA.
No, it's the max you can do for a standard sidewalk, but not for ADA.
So then
You can have 8% for like 6 feet, that's it. And
Bruce
then
had
you have
comments?
to take it off.
Bruce, that comment?
Well, if you have your handicap parking in the middle and the bottom of the slope, the sidewalks going up and down are immaterial, aren't they?
Theoretically, yeah.
I mean, we got a
Would we
20%
have to
road
have-
up the hill.
If we put a
The
sidewalk,
problem you have is you have someone going up to it with a wheelchair or something, not realizing that it's not ADA, and potentially getting hurt, and then you're looking at liability issues. I mean, we could put a sign there, but who wants an ugly sign that says, if you're handicapped, please park down there?
Or just put a simple 9% grade. I mean, it's a simple
I mean,
sign.
you get off the ramp or sidewalk, people are gonna be going through grass and stuff.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I had the same issue with the skate park, where we have paths that are leading right to the skate park, and, okay, I have to have them meet ADA, but I'm like, anybody who's going to the skate park.
Yeah.
I mean, the ramps certainly are ADA.
No, yeah.
James, give me a quick feel. So, on the driveway coming in from Central, driveway going into the park, if we put on the, down here, Mike, down the bottom, that driveway, if we put right there some steps that went down.
You wouldn't need steps, you could just run a sidewalk along next to the asphalt.
But you just told me that if it was 8%, we'd have a problem.
Yeah, it's not ADA.
Okay, so what if we put steps instead of running a sidewalk?
Steps aren't ADA.
Huh?
Steps aren't ADA.
Do they have to be
It's
ADA?
to point out the fact that it's not ADA.
Yeah, I mean,
No, but, all right, so if we have steps, only the dumbest wheelchair guy's gonna try to go down that. Okay, so if we have steps, we know they're not ADA. The steps don't have to be ADA. We got ADA up on since we don't have any handicap parking on the back, we got
you could
a
potentially
ramp up on top
What about the staggered steps? One of those, I mean, they don't have to be steps, like, you know, what do they call them? I mean, it's still levels, but it goes down. There's
Like
steps.
tiers?
Yeah.
Steps that are 4 feet long instead of steps.
Yeah, exactly.
Stepping in.
Yeah.
Stepping down.
I mean, I can get a wheelchair down there, you're skilled enough.
However size steps we might build there, would we have a problem building steps from the Central Ave down?
You know?
Or we wouldn't have an ADA conflict because we have handicap parking down and we have a ramp on the front. We don't have to have ADA everywhere.
Way more expensive than sidewalks, so are we eating up that $200,000?
That's what I'm asking them.
I'm not gonna be able to
Point,
do that.
sir.
I just did. I just did. I said, can we do that?
We did look at that, remember you did have steps down here and they were like,
Yeah, we took them out because generally they were $150,000 to $200,000.
150 or what?
$150,000 to $200,000, yeah.
What steps?
Yeah, the ramp steps, it kind of ends up being,
Okay.
you're still gonna, if you're gonna stretch it out like you're talking about. And I mean, like I said, it seems like you guys are very caught up by numbers, and honestly, you put me on the spot with a lot of numbers that I'm just like, I can grab it at you, but honestly, who knows how.
Well, with the stretched out steps, even if you do get that one idiot that wanna try that, at least it's not as steep as.
Yeah, no, I can see the point about the steps as much, you don't have really the issue with liability at that point. The 8% slope, you more have an issue with liability because.
If somebody in a chair tries to use it, then you have a
And it's
problem.
not ADA, yeah, exactly, but steps are very obviously not ADA accessible, you know, that. So potentially putting in an access, removing the ramp and trying to do some sort of minimal access on that side to save some money.
That's a thought.
We can keep that.
What does the crew think about that?
Yeah, if that's gonna give us more to work with.
I assume we're still keeping the ramp on the North Ave side, that
Yeah.
zigzag?
Yeah, we're not.
Yes.
Currently.
We're just worrying about the trees.
Until we get to that part.
Well, I mean, I think we need a ramp off of one side or the other. I mean,
Well,
it's not
yeah,
every handicap.
we don't need both of
No,
them.
I'm trying to.
I got a thought, so, I mean, for people to come visit this arts park, are they gonna be coming north and south on North Avenue and parking along North Avenue? Or how much traffic do you really feel the users of the park are gonna be on Central?
They want to park, they will.
Yeah,
Well,
no, I know, but, I mean, it's.
We can't
Just-
fix the
just
parking on, we
the,
can't fix the
parallel
parking on
parking.
North Avenue.
They don't necessarily
We
have
can't
to
fix
park
the
there,
parking
they
on
use the
North Avenue.
park.
There's
They
a
can
bunch
park
of
someplace
Yeah,
else
the
and
parallel
look at the
parking
village from
that's
there.
on North Avenue. My experience is, I go by there, nobody's ever parking there, it's wide open.
Community shop, that's about the only.
How many people are really, I mean, is there really gonna be that many people parking that, oh my gosh, you gotta drive around the block and go in from the backside?
Yes,
That's our
because we
hope.
have to supply 25 parking spaces in this project. And we're only gonna supply 18, but we're supposed to supply 25, and if we supply 2 or none,
Yeah.
we're in
Well,
trouble.
I'm thinking, I'm trying to look at it like just
Okay,
the reality of it, the
Yeah.
everyday reality
realistically, you just park right there for that.
versus what do we, you know, okay.
I'm coming in the middle of this, and so I don't know about the costing of the step versus the ramps, but I don't know, 1964, the World's Fair, there weren't any steps, it was all ramps. We lived in the lighthouse up at Sodas Point, and they came and, when they said they had to have a ramp and other, so they built a ramp, and then right next to it, they built steps, and I looked at those steps and I said, well, why do you use the steps, to prove that you don't have to use the ramp? I mean, everybody can use a ramp, so.
James was just pointing out that when somebody with a wheelchair, and we built the ramp too steep.
Oh, I
decided to
can't
play
do
with
that,
it,
right.
Yeah, we got
Right.
trouble.
Like I said, I didn't know where I was just an observation, I didn't know where I was in the conversation.
Yeah. That's the worry about, elsewise you park on Central Avenue, you walk down the damn driveway.
To answer your question, Delta did the plans for the steamer house.
Right.
Yeah, we know that much.
I was gonna say, I've had exchange, I can't like put a finger on who it is, but I'm not very good with names and emails and that kind of thing. That's why I have my little magical box that keeps track of that stuff for me. But, they've sent me plans, I've been in communication with them, like, at least Mike, or I thought a couple of you guys have been on the email cause I was asking about that fence, trying to figure out if I could take it down or what the purpose of it was before I called it out.
just a timeout area.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Up and down.
another piece. Jim has just spoken to Steve Lounsbury. And he says that
No,
deal is,
Patrick did.
oh, I thought you spoke to Steve about the deal being done.
Patrick did.
Patrick spoke to Steve.
Patrick must have texted or talked to Steve
And he got back to you.
And Steve,
Steve says that the deal is done.
Okay. I mean, it probably is.
So next thing, we
I know it
need,
was like, I think I signed it.
sometime, it's not the most important thing, but we need to find out if if Allied is responsible for a fence. We can find that out real quick and easy. We don't fix that tonight, but that'd be something we'll plan for or not.
Yeah.
Depending. Okay, so, do we want James to sniff at what we just potentially said we might do, which is get rid of that back ramp, get rid of those handicap spots up on top, and sniff at how we're gonna get people down from back there, and whether it's some sort of step or some sort of
Yeah, I think we want.
use of that.
I think we want the cheapest option to get people
Zip line.
down there.
Well,
Just slide.
okay, from Main Street is one way in, right? I mean, from North Avenue, it's one way in?
That parking right now is designed to accommodate 2 vehicles. It's
Really?
It's 24 feet.
What did you wanted to know about which way we're gonna get in there?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, but let's work on the step in the back before we decide which way they're gonna drive in. No?
yeah, well,
I mean, this road
if
here,
Yeah.
does that have to remain two-way?
That's a right.
I mean, that is,
I don't know.
Yes, because
coming
we
out
don't
onto
own, we
North
don't own that.
Avenue is very dangerous.
Fran, we don't own that driveway. We own maybe a piece of that driveway and the people in the houses there and buildings own the driveway. So we don't get to make all the choices.
It already comes out of North Ave, so there's no change.
Okay.
But let's concentrate on the going down from the back. So can you sniff at that for us and see
Yeah.
what it might be?
I'll work out a
But a couple
budget
of
responsible
potential things, and if it's 200 grand for the ramp and it's 150 or 60 to put a step in, that didn't help us. So sniff that for us, is that what we want? Let's put that to bed. What's the next thing we want to do? Do we want some things in the middle of that oval that we can put structures on if we so chose?
I mean, I think so, but I don't think they have to be concrete.
I would like one concrete one, but how about the idea of some permeable, something else
Something that's sturdy enough to put something on.
that you can put,
I mean, you got a drainage issue there.
Yeah.
so I'm just thinking that the concrete one is the one that we would, if we do this, that we would eventually try to put something a little more substantial at the top, and that's where we absolutely want some electricity, and we want it up on the concrete to get it out of the water and out of the ground, whatever we're gonna put there. That would be where we put some electricity for sure. Is that something we're sniffing at?
Who said that?
So if you did a concrete slab, could it just be floaty?
Yeah, that's more or less what we're talking about,
Yeah.
is it would just be a floating
But
slab.
If there anything down,
Yeah.
the front.
Just on top, I guess, slowly.
I'll probably end up doing a thickened haunch slab of some sort,
Yeah.
like
So, I
normally,
mean,
you
it's,
bring the edges down,
it's just gonna
so.
be there, you know, it's not got deep footers and you're gonna drive piling.
No.
They just need a flat, hard
This is
surface.
just something that we can.
Right, cause it's
We're not
not
gonna-
like you're gonna be building a permanent structure.
No, we're gonna
on
put
top of it.
I know,
Yeah,
we're gonna
I
put
got you.
a metal carport on it, we're gonna
I
put
just
something,
wanna bring that up, cause that's a pretty easy to do,
that's easy to do.
you know, I mean, to put
Yeah.
a floating slab
Yeah.
somewhere. on there.
Yeah, the only downside is you might eventually that might settle over time, but we should be able to put enough gravel
Yeah.
and drainage under it, hopefully.
Yeah, my concern would just be the drainage in that.
So you-
Because you're talking about the middle, which is the low point kind of.
Yeah, you have nowhere else to really put the water, you kind of have to focus it in the middle, and that'd be the deepest point, and the idea is that it'll fill up from the bottom, culling out, and by the time it gets to the surface, likely the site really isn't usable at the current moment anyway.
So we're not talking about putting any structures in the middle, we're talking about putting them around that middle thing, that slab or.
Not around it would be like out here,
Where's that, Mike?
but on the inside.
Inside the oval, but outside of the bowl.
Of this bowl here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
So once again, my sniff
But it
is,
shows-
my sniff is a concrete slab up that way, so that that seating and maybe some more seating over here can see performance in that. That's my thought. Something up there, then maybe here or up here or a couple, 2, 3, whatever permeable things around.
I feel like a farmer's market or something.
So we could put things in there.
Or a sculpture.
Sculpture could go there. Or temporary stuff, or, once again.
Yeah, like the things we take out in fall.
Just want something solid there that's not.
Something underneath that's
Squishy
not,
grass.
that the water and crap doesn't get into, and that we can put something not very huge on top. That's my thought. What's everybody else think?
It might be a dumb question, I don't know. What's the stuff made of for school tracks?
I asked that the other.
Money.
I mean, is that permeable or is it not?
It's like made out of tire treads or whatever.
It's permeable, it's a special
Yeah.
engineered design surface.
So
They
it sounds
also-
expensive.
It's
It's expensive, and in addition, it also requires its own drainage system. So normally there's a couple
That's
pipes
what
that
you
go
found
under it that collect it and take it somewhere. And then
You
drain
have
it
a
out.
drain field essentially. And
Well, yeah, and then there's usually around a football field, so they crown it so that the drain collects, like, it's really a whole monster in itself.
That was my
And
first
gonna
idea,
wise
and that
guy-
was
I
not
was gonna
good.
wise
I
guy
was
you
gonna
that.
walk
It's
after
made out of money. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Every school field and track and everything is made out of money.
You wonder why
Lots
there's
of
never any
our money.
water on it. Yeah, it's like.
I just think, you always see it in different colors and whatnot, I thought maybe that might be another option, but.
I mean, you could still do a lot with different colors and stuff, especially with the permeable surfaces that I'm talking about. When you get those stones and those, I mean, they even make
It's
a
made out
mesh.
of tires, right? Rubber tires.
The track surface, I mean, there's a lot of different options. Usually it's, if you're already paying that much, they just fork over a little more for the more engineered, designed, long-term. I mean, recycling, green, if you're getting the points for it, for like lead programs or anything like that, then maybe use the recycled tire, but they're not, realistically, no one's doing that unless it's saving them money or earning them money in some way.
Sorry about the rabbit hole, we'll get back on track.
So putting pieces to bed, are we interested in having him look at some things inside that oval? Concrete slab, maybe cut 2, 3 permeable,
We could save the money on that backside, I mean.
we got money for that.
I do like that idea of the checkerboard.
Well, we can do that. We got trees down on one side. If we are gonna end up having, seating and stuff up there by the steamer house, see where the trees end there, going up the right? You got the 4 or 5 trees going up the right. I would like that next whole piece to be wide open, that you didn't know for sure that was ours, that piece right through there. That should be open for some, put your chairs in and watch something or do something. Not a bunch of trees there so that you can see if we do the performance.
We want to keep the trees further away from that track, if you will.
I just want those 5 trees to be where they are. I don't want trees up any farther up there for people to watch something from up there. Or even the trees could even get moved, but that's detail.
Yeah.
We got that one, kind of put, so what other pieces are we still looking at?
I'm gonna discuss the ramp on North Ave, we're gonna keep it or not.
The ramp on North Ave?
Or move the trees.
Yeah.
Out of,
That
or
was the
bushes,
next
whatever it's
topic
gonna
of
be,
discussion.
so that could be.
Well, the reason
visual
for the ramp on
tree.
North Ave is that it's actually probably cheaper than building a wall there.
I understand the reason, you said we were going to discuss.
Oh,
it.
yeah, absolutely.
That's
No,
why
what you were just
I-
asking.
I just wanna make sure we're keeping it or not, I mean, what's the cost of that opposed to the cost on the one on Central?
That one's significantly cheaper because the grade is already there, and we don't have to build it up. And likely, that's really just a sidewalk, we're just doing some grading and cleaning it up.
But that was a
little bit.
much shorter drop.
I mean, we did
Yeah,
reduce
that's
the
true.
size of the stair, but we do still have a stair on that side.
I mean, I'm almost the same, Brent and Jim would, like, if we have a ramp and a stair, what's the point of having the stairs? Can we take that out and put that money elsewhere?
Does that stair go all the way over to where we think the ramp seating is gonna be, from the steamer house? Because it was supposed to kind of go all the way to that.
Well, if I don't-
No matter what, if they do seating on there, they have to tie a grade into it. Like, there's gonna be an area where you can kind of walk up grass and get to the area.
But I think part of the idea of having that stairway there was to have it
Yeah,
come
that
right,
whole
coming
thing,
right to that.
until I get some drawings to show me what that is, I can't even really design anything. I've been out there, I seen the stones and stuff they have there, it looks like a standard stacked stone wall that you buy off any shelf, so.
That's where we need a field trip.
But, yeah,
So what would that stairway potentially cost? I mean, around,
This smaller one, originally we had it at about 150, we cut it down a little bit, and ended up being closer to 80 or 90.
I mean, is it worth $90,000 for them to be able to step onto the different layers or use the?
I don't know how, whatever.
I mean,
we
since
find to get to
technically
it.
it's not seating officially.
Right, but it can be used as that, it just.
Right. But I mean, is it worth $90,000 to have steps to
So there is
unofficial seating?
there is something to keep, for flow of traffic, you have multiple different groups of people, some might wanna mosey down the path, others don't wanna wait behind someone, but that's your only kind of.
I think the world needs a little patience personally.
Yeah.
So would it be reasonable for James to sniff with hose team Delta, whoever, the idea, the picture that Jimmy has and I have, we have that in the paper that we got of how they're planning to put that, well, if the stadium seating thing in, to sniff up whether or not a stairway to that would be practical going down that, so that off of the stairway, you go into that seating. Otherwise, we gotta find a way to get you up to that seating.
At the end of the day, we're trying to find a way to put some damn art in this art park.
Correct, which, no, I just said to him to check on that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, but I'm thinking, do the bare bones now, and in 10 years, we need to add stairs, we can add some damn stairs.
So Rusty, were you saying in the middle of that, terraced area, there's the OC plant stairs?
No, the stairs are right there under the R. See the R going up?
Okay.
Okay, can you, I don't know if you can see the stadium seat, there's stadium there, and it also goes
Okay.
over there. So those stairs would come down, would get you into the levels of the levels of the stadium seat. Those stairs would give you the access to each level of the stadium seat, other
Yeah,
other
that
than
would
having
be
to
good.
try and climb up, and they're gonna be a ways, having to try to climb your way up there somehow.
We widen the slope by 18 inches and make it so people can pass each other. I don't know what that would add to the cost of the. I mean, that's another
Yeah,
option.
adding a couple, yeah, I think I have it at 8 feet right now, making it up to 10 feet wouldn't add.
So you're thinking like 2 my size lanes?
Whatever size, I mean, I'm assuming you're gonna drive your car in the bottom and just take it easy.
I ride a bike. Let's just
Play
go
chess
bike
together,
riding.
Charles.
Huh?
We can play chess together, you can teach me how to do it.
So, I'd like you to kind of look that over, find out a little bit more about that, about the stairs coming there, and then you can tell us whether that fits there, what we're talking about, and you can tell us how much difference it might be if we had no stairway there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal is to try and get more leftover money to.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
get
that's
rid
part
of
of the
that
deal.
second ramp.
You know, when he first said that stair might be 150, that's a lot. When he said, well, we got it down to 80, well, maybe that's better. I'll just, yeah, everything is the money.
That's today's right, concrete could double tomorrow, who the heck knows?
Well, so that's the thing too,
That's
like,
true, too.
so one of the things we try not to do too much, and we're kind of going down that path, but it seems like it's important in this case, is we try not to do too many rough estimates throughout, because they change so much going through. Like really, we normally do kind of that preliminary estimate that we already provided you, and normally at this time, we're kind of like, we're gonna isolate some individual items, lock in a budget here and say this is what it's cost. We've kind of taken a step back into redesigning and kind of fixing the site a little bit. Albeit, I think the ultimate goal of trying to find money for art is you should do it. Like,
a lot of people.
yeah, like, so.
And we may not be able to, I don't know what your thought is, we may not be able to do that for the amount of money we have. That's even up there. I don't know how.
You should be able to do, so we designed this in mind with, as long as we're not like way off the mark, we should have been able to do this with some of the artistic flares that I had presented by, we've got walls, we've got pavement, we've got parking and planting. The goal is, art committee provides art for the 3 patios. We provide artistic features in the benches and the lights, in the pathways and in the walls. And then at that point, you could really still kind of call this an art park.
Build it and they will come.
We,
There's a good
let's say we kind of backed away from that more along the lines of, okay, slim it down even more to absolute bare bones, and then try to purchase art to put into
It's
this.
not that way.
But that will be permanent, right? Whatever art.
do.
I mean,
Depends how we do it.
I hope if you're purchasing it, it's something that's gonna be there for a while, yeah.
We're gonna use
That's
local
why I
artists.
was asking if local artists, you know.
Well, I mean, we could even have an art contest where they submit a scale size whatever and let the community decide. I mean, you want to involve them as much as possible
Exactly.
without giving them too much control
I
over
agree
the
to that.
direction.
Yes, but in a way, you gotta provide some sort of canvas for them. Like, we're using art as a very, what's the word, conceptual thing. So are we talking about having artists submit potential murals? Are we potential
So, I mean,
sculptures?
We haven't begun to
potential-
get to that.
Like some kind of sculpture at
But-
scale.
but that's
Yeah, because I was thinking that some artists want their stuff to be seen, and they just need a place to put it. You know, they got big stuff, like, what, during Martin Luther King's birthday, they had that Martin Luther King, you see I mean, y'all seen the, yeah, stuff like that. I mean, people can climb it.
He got paid for that.
Well,
That's what I mean. So, I mean, I get what you're saying in general, but at the scale that you guys are talking about,
That don't come free.
right.
I mean, those
No.
artists don't, nobody wants
No.
their art to be seen that bad. If they're at that point, they're designing
But
that.
they're out there though. I mean, there's some out there that's like,
Are you offering your artistic abilities?
no, if you
As
put a
far as-
piano in the middle of your car.
As far as that goes, I would highly recommend that you guys try to get some sort of meeting with you guys. If you have an art committee who wants to provide some of this stuff, we had some kind of input. I mean, what did they envision when they did this? I mean,
I'm just saying, I guarantee there's artists out there that you see that as a perfect exposure, you know? People go through there and it's like, oh, hey, I'll donate this because my stuff will be seen because I got other stuff, other places.
The other option maybe we could do is a
Yeah, you never know, I mean-
commission people who then sell it out of the park. Is that an option? Or can we not do that? I don't know.
Do we have anything else up there that you don't like or don't think we should have, or something that's not up there?
Art,
Well, the one thing with trees right next to the sidewalk,
We talked about that.
maybe put in some sort of fancy raised flower beds instead of trees.
Keep an area designated for porta potties.
Trees are bringing up sidewalks.
well, so there's two things you get with a raised planter bed, someone has to take care of it, or it just.
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
fuck
that would
out.
be
Um,
something that would be done every year.
I mean, you guys do have a very nice IDS sign, I hope it's in that booklet there, that needs to go somewhere in this park. So that might be a very nice place for it, and get rid of those trees.
But the things we're talking about are major structural things, that, the trees are, no, we'll address that, but that's just simply not, we gotta decide if we're gonna have those trees or not, that's.
are you priced here lately?
Well, just a real off-the-wall thought. On Central Avenue, there's a lot of hardscape and construction and wall and all that. What if that was just left just the way it is? I mean,
There's a good
if you
chance that
don't
if
touch it, you don't have to deal with it. Now, it's,
that wall is not in a condition that I would promote people parking next to it.
no, we don't, I mean, does anybody park there now?
No, but they will if you put an art park right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta
They
clean up
park
that
in the
street.
first 5 spots
Central
that are
Avenue.
deep enough for them to come in like this.
Yeah, that-
Hardly anybody parks parallel.
That wouldn't.
The only time they park parallel there is when we have a strawberry festival and we put up a whole bunch of police signs that say you can't park there, and that's the time they park there.
That's true. Strawberry Fest, that's on the river.
Yep.
I mean, when I was down there, the only thing really holding that wall up, honestly, is the trees and stuff that.
Yeah, those railroad ties are all disintegrated, it's all.
Yeah, I hear you, but I mean, I'm a little familiar with the site, but if it's just left the way it is, so you don't, I mean, block off the
There was-
parking
there
or
was-
some,
So there was thoughts about that at one point.
but you know, that's a huge, even with the reduced expenditure, it's still expensive to put a 12-foot retaining wall and all that,
Oh, yeah.
right? So, I mean, if you put barriers or large riprap along the roadside, no one's gonna be able to park there, so you have to worry about someone parking on the
You have
edge.
to provide some amount of parking.
But then once again, we
Yeah,
did.
but I mean, I understand,
We-
if it's about the parking, okay. I'm just throwing it out there for.
Yeah, no, just, it's one of the very few things in the DRI that was actually written pretty distinctly, yeah.
Very clear on parking.
But I mean, it was one of the ideas that was going around before I stepped into this.
They thought we were
was
gonna put a parking lot in the hole.
not spending much money on infrastructure at all in this park, and spending almost all of it on art and just making the best with what's there.
So what
You
about
know-
parking in the hall?
What's it?
What about parking in the hall?
Well, I mean, we'd be starting all over again, and we'd be doing all this, James wants to hear this, and we're not gonna do this. We could make this a parking lot, art parking lot. We could, but we're
I
not.
have a hard time selling Julie on that.
An art parking lot.
Art parking lot.
You don't wanna sideswipe that $100,000 sculpture.
Well, they could make sculptures out of the demo derby cars when they're going.
So
So back to the deal, do we have other things that we want that aren't there? We can add things for kids to play, and we can add little playground and stuff or something that we feel like that. I know, but we want families to come here and eat lunch and hang out and stuff, but we can do that. So basically, we have most of the things that we can practically have and want, and we don't have a whole bunch of things that we hate and want gone. That's the exercise right now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's.
Two things I want you guys to chew on. So I'm gonna take what you guys have presented and kind of try to press that forward, get the drawings updated, provide you with the current number so you can choose a path earlier. We're taking a step back in terms of timeline. We really need to have that conversation with DOT. Maybe we can do that Friday.
With Julie.
Yeah. DOT, Department of State, US. To make sure, because we are pushing design essentially. And then the other thing is we gotta make sure we think about budget too. Like at this point, I think this project has been designed 4 times. We kind of get right to this point and then it doesn't go forward. And I know some of that was designed before I was involved in this. But if we get stuck in the cycle, we'll use up all of our engineering fee as well.
But we're doing well on budget if we end up taking out $200,000 with the ramp.
I'm not talking about construction budget, I'm talking about engineering budget. Every time I redraw these, coordinate it, review it, send it back out, like that costs money. So, and I can't do that forever. That's why Alon doesn't come to these meetings, because that's using up all their budget to come to. I try to coordinate with them as much outside of it. Same with IDS, that's why they only come, on occasion with that. I try to keep our consultant fees down. But at some point, there is like a kind of breaking point that we need to make sure we stay with that if we want to get this actually designed.
We wanna make sure we see you as much as we can for the amount of money we're getting.
I think my wife might put in a higher bid.
We all know that.
So I said,
when they're reviewing it, the state, and they're flipping through the project, there's nothing that, when they get to this page, it's like a different section of Marvin Park, there's benches and there's pathways and there's trees, but there's no actual art, right? And so the objective of this was to have interactive art in the parking, right? We're not meeting the interactive art objective at all. So I think it does need a whole redesign.
So there's 2 things I want to be careful. So
Hold on,
US,
I'll-
when they.
Let me finish and then you can respond. So this currently, last time I asked about the budget for the art, it was like $40,000. That's 1/100th of the budget. And it's just opposite of what we should be doing here. We should have art as a primary thing. And so we haven't even talked about, you said there's 3 spots where maybe art's gonna go on these things, but are they flat? Are they raised? How big is the art? We should be talking about anything that has anything to do with art.
Well, so for me, at least for my side of the art thing, one thing I've repeated is that the art part of it has to be kind of the last part of it as far as engineering and stuff goes. Not like where, not priority wise, just in terms of order of construction. Like I gotta make a site to be able to put art in it. And then, so the other thing is, I'm very much trying to put some art in there. That's what I came here today to talk about, was the art side of it. Like, I mean, like I say, these art twisters, I think maybe we're not connecting on what we're discussing as art. For me, art is anything you put an artistic twist on. Like if I'm designing just a generic park, I'm certainly not spending $10,000 on a bench that looks like a sculpture. That's something I'm doing for this project because it's a priority here. Same with lighting, same with the fancy walls. If this is a different park and I'm putting in a retaining wall, that's a stacked retaining wall all day. It's the cheapest, easiest to put in, quickest, no issues. But here we're trying to put in a concrete wall that will provide us with some sort of medium to put an artistic feature in this park. So I mean, while I get what you're saying, I am trying to give you guys some art.
Yeah, it's like you're picking out fancier decorative elements instead of like a art park, you know, an interactive art piece.
And we gotta have a park to start with.
Well,
that's why
There are a bunch of fancy.
the visual of art and
So
stuff
what do
is,
you visualize me presenting to you on that? I mean, do you want me to go find artists, buy their, like, put out a catalog and send them a point out?
I think like
I'm
a
just trying to get a,
decorative, like a hardscape, no dirt infill, like you said, 12 inches of dirt, right? And so like no dirt, no grass, just like something that fills the space. There's no maintenance, right? So something that could be like a map. And so I sent stuff out on the New York State Highway. There's the Southern Tier rest stop area, and they have a playground built in there. It has the Susquehanna River map on the playground surface, and then slides that are like cattails and logs and stuff like that.
but it doesn't
So
sit
it
in a
looks like
bowl where water's gonna log up.
yeah, it sits on the hillside with water stuff, yeah, drainage and things, and I did send the photos,
So,
and
like-
I just sent it to you again tonight.
I like
I don't
to
know
see
if it
that.
got to you.
I'll take a close look at it.
So what that does is it's a New York State thing and I included the link to funding and stuff that they, used they met the MWB requirements, they show all the funding, they sourced all the material around here, and it already has the Susquehanna River and all our aspects included. So like, going off something like that.
Laura, can I jump in for a second?
So I'll tell you one thing right away, that surface that they have in here is gonna cost you the whole project. You're not gonna get a hardscape for almost a full acre. You guys only have $1.5 million. They sound like a lot, but it's not.
I want to jump in for a second. So, you want to know where the art's going to be. Well, the places that look possible for art there are on Central Avenue. You've got maybe it's a tree on the far left, the round circle. You got the parking, you see the round circle at the end. Central Avenue.
The little circles?
Central Avenue, parking, see the circle on the left end?
These things, I think they're trees.
You see what I'm talking about?
But
Those,
these-
Oh.
those things.
these
All
are
right,
guys here.
time out.
These are like
Apparently I'm not getting through here.
trees.
Right here is a spot for some potential art. Right here is a plaza-ish spot for some potential art. These little circles of 3 are places for potential sculpture. Up on the top is potential art. What's down here? Right down here. That's the bottom there. That's a whole little plaza. Right in there. That's potential art. These are the things that we're talking about putting inside are places to put potential art. Those are all places where the art can go. On this wall here, or the retaining wall, or any walls, are places for art. Not
I
only
think the
painting
question
it.
is what art is gonna be there?
I don't know. Nobody
Yeah,
does. But these are places that are potential for art. And
We
those
got
walls
plenty of
are
places.
places for potential art, both for painting, but also the walls there. Maybe there's something interactive that you can use that comes out of the wall, comes out of the ground.
And that's the art part.
Those
yeah.
are all the places that art can go there.
Like you were saying,
That's
like
pretty
a
much what we
decorative
got.
wall, we either have a plain wall, which is not artistic at all, or a wall that looked like
I'm
all
just
these
saying,
coyotes smashed
I'm
together.
just saying we're
That's
places
art.
that have potential to have art in them, even though I don't have the slightest idea what park bench, but there are a numbers of places there where these things can go.
Yeah, you can have a bench, or you can have a bench that look like a patina chair. That's art.
You gotta let the springless thing go, Charles.
Oh, yeah. That was,
Put that right next to the
I really didn't mean that.
Maybe around, maybe
The
something,
Pringles can in the middle.
maybe things in conjunction with the bench. These are just, we don't have any idea how much that's gonna be. I'm just trying to tell you where they are.
And these, art spots or whatever, I mean, you've seen pictures of those before, but they're like a raised up, flat, big
Yeah.
concrete thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is really laid out to be as much of a blank slate as possible, so that we can decide on how it's going to be artistic.
Right.
You know, even those circles that we show as podiums, you guys want it shaped like a star? Do we want it to look like a bell to represent the bell tower? Do we want the concrete? Do you guys want stamped to represent a river? That was a lot of the detail and stuff that I was coming, even as you had like laid out for the Susquehanna River. There's no reason that that whole pathway around couldn't be stamped concrete, something with letters or with, you know, a river trail that goes through it.
Mustaches.
That northern part up there where the two things come down, that could be a map of some place. That's all stuff I was kind of trying to go with today.
The floating pad could be Hiawatha Island.
Good.
So, yeah, so his thoughts are fine. So all these little things that we're gonna do you want them to be tweaked to look interesting and different and artistic? That's what you just said. I'm just saying the same thing. You're asking that.
So can we?
Good, no.
Can we commission people to design these benches then? That way there's a
Commission's
local
attention.
flair into some of these bench jobs, and we're paying $10,000 for
So
a
here's
bench, and.
Yeah, absolutely, you can do that and you can start that process, but that's not gonna show up in the engineering drawing.
Right, well, that's perfectly fine,
So
but there's
that's
benches
kinda-
there, and that is in the engineering drawing, so can we, obviously not every bench, because not everybody can sit on that stuff, as you pointed out.
Yeah.
But at least get some local people involved in this process as early as possible to do something simple like benches, which are mandatory.
Yeah, I highly recommend that, that's kind of what the three main spaces we had kind of provided, those were spaces I anticipated you guys wanting to, you know, commission some large spaces for that, to bring in artists.
But right now, what we can afford is a bench.
Yeah.
Then we'll see if we can afford the big sculpture, but at least we can get some kind of local flair in there with the budget we have at the moment.
How big are these? Any idea how big are these spots here? Like the
circles
three
there.
spots?
They're approximately 8 feet.
Approximately what?
8 feet.
8 feet.
Yeah, so that, I'm pretty sure that path
Yeah.
is 8 feet wide.
Okay. Mike or Bruce wants to say something when it's open.
Go for it. So,
Well, just kind of going back to the origin of the concept of the arts part. And, I think part of the opportunity is that north and south on North Avenue, visitors, drivers by, is for people to be driving by to be able to see something going on there that's, they don't have to go in there or actually get out of their car, they can see it driving by, so, I mean, I don't know if anybody's familiar with like Storm King in the Hudson Valley. I mean, that's where my original thought was when I was messing with this first time around years ago. But with, you know, some kind of sculptures like this, we put lighting on it, you know, day or night, you're driving by, you are not gonna help but see like, whoa, that is cool, you know? I mean, if that's gonna catch people's eye, it's about trying to make a statement, and then people will come and visit. You know, you can only get the local neighbors to come there so much, right? We're trying to invite the passers through to say, wow, Owego's cool. I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna eat lunch and I'm gonna get a picnic going or whatever, you know?
So an interesting thing along your line is that the host company is going to have this glass
Yeah.
building with an antique fire apparatus in it, with out front a tall perpetual flame, 8, 10 feet up, and
Really?
a giant famous old
Wow.
old bell on the top of the steamer house. So that is one of the things that's gonna have people say, what's all this?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a good thing, it's along the line.
So maybe there's your statement right there.
And the same thing, those three spots are 8-foot raised up circles that have lighting. You could put a big, I don't know.
So I mean, my point is about being visible with a vehicle traffic, you know. When they're coming through town, they see it.
A small section of that Storm King's Hudson Park is being revamped in the near future. A small portion of that Hudson King Park that you're talking about is being revamped in the near future.
Oh, is it?
About the same size as this, $45 million.
Yeah, well.
That was our
We
original.
got a kid that's a welder, he'll do for that.
That's what we asked, we asked for 45 million.
So I gave these guys the kind of scope of this before. It's like, are you familiar, how many of you guys are familiar with Elmira? Downtown?
That's right up. That's in
Okay.
Oregon.
Nobody goes there anymore.
No, it's right outside of.
There's a park there that we did with these DRI funded that's smaller than this. It's about half of it, might be a little bit longer, but $750,000. All we really did was some paths and some plantings, like no very artistic items, no retaining walls, no.
Is it along the river?
It's along the river.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. So there used to be a fountain there.
You're doing better for us, thank you.
So far, but let's get this locked into some sort of real budget. We'll try to, get, at that point, the base of the site kind of is what it is, and then we'll decide what to do with the rest of the money. And we'll go from there.
Yeah, I guess that's the big question is how much is the rest of the money, which you don't know yet, but.
Well, yeah, so here's the thing though, too. Now I'm kind of going on a limb a little bit, and I'm gonna go run this number, and we're gonna do that, and we're gonna design the rest of it. If that's part that I estimate is 25% more in the future, 2 months from now when we try to build that, now our project's over budget. So it's a slippery slope, we gotta be careful.
Yeah.
In the meantime, one of our jobs is to think of what do we leave out if it turns out that it's just way too over budget. That's one of our missions.
Yeah, but even that is tricky, because then, I think I talked to the mayor a little about this.
Bid that way.
Yeah, you have to bid it that way, so you start putting in alternates.
Yeah.
Contractors, what they do is they put their money in on certain things, so if they're like, okay, well, I'm really making the most money on alternate 1, alternate 2. If I don't win the project, or if they cut those, well, I don't wanna do it, so they just don't bid on it. We don't want that either, so it's a bit of a.
Still something for us to be paying attention to.
Oh, yeah, it's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, we don't have extra money sitting around to dump into a park.
Yeah, I mean, really what you're looking at is alternative deducts, which is.
We'll let Bruce build it.
I got another thought, this, when you're talking about the budget and so on. So if the project is designed, sounds like you a general consensus, but then you have the installations that are maybe the piece that's not in there. And you commission these different pieces through, out to the arts community. Would that leftover DRI money be able to be used for the commissioning of the actual artistic
That's
pieces?
what we're trying to do with the.
Yeah, but we need to write that into the construction side of stuff. It would be money that we would spend now, not later.
Or you budget in X amount for this commission piece?
Yeah, and it's something we
Even
would
though it's
undertake
not
now.
even designed it's an artistic.
No, we would keep a section of the budget set aside for that off. I mean, there's a part in the DRI.
So you have a
form work that we have to
contingency
submit.
allowance just for that particular piece of it.
If that's the route, that's not the route we have gone so far.
No, I
that
know,
is
but then you
something
could
we
say,
can do.
okay, we have $100,000 per installation or whatever the number is.
Yeah, the problem was up until this point, we hadn't really thought there was gonna be anything left over, or if it was gonna be such a small amount that we could, it's like the difference between buying aluminum silverware and steel silverware. Like, we can't afford gold silverware, but we can afford a little bit
As opposed to
better.
doing, alternate, 1 through 4, right, on a base bid for the contractors, you have the budget, and then you have allowances for the commission pieces.
Yeah, that would be outside of the construction and the
Right, but I mean,
engineering
it's
stuff.
part of the budget.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But what would happen is the construction side of it would get less.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, it's like, if the talk is that you don't wanna leave any money on the table, I guess is
Right.
the point. Well, maybe that money that's possibly there could go into the.
So that's what I say, that it's a balancing act though, because that's money we have to set aside now, which means we cut it out, say we cut out $50,000, whatever it is for that, and then we bid, so now we're under that process, we're spending that $50,000, and our project comes in over budget, and we can't afford it now.
Well, you could always pull it back, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could pull it back and do that, but all that takes more money to rebid it, to redesign it, I mean, it's all, like I said, there's no perfect way to do it.
Mike, I think that we all understand that the art, and I know this is problematic for you to some degree, but the art is going to have to come from some other funding. We're gonna have to go out and get some grants and get some funding to buy, rent, pay for, whatever, any art, most art we want in there. We just understand that. This is never gonna have enough money to pay for the art. So, some a little bit, but if we want anything substantial, we're gonna have to find other funding.
$1 million isn't over for it.
Nope.
To Ron's point with the benches, why not have one of the classes from, art classes from the high school?
Do a contest.
Get them to design the benches, maybe even design some of the art to put in the park.
There are a lot of interesting benches that you go around the country, state, and park. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you can get that's not $1 zillion million.
It kind of makes.
But that doesn't mean that some of these are nice and not a good idea. We just gotta figure it out.
Yeah,
Aren't we all
really,
set now?
so all I need is a direction, because if I'm not, and that's great, if I'm not including that in that, then all I have to do is design a generic site, and then it's your guys' to do whatever you want.
I mean, I assume that's what we were doing by cutting things out, was trying to
Make
put money over here hypothetically
Yeah,
for
but
us
that's
to
not what
pursue.
but that's not what he just said.
I just said that there are a lot of options for benches. As I've traveled around, I see all kinds of interesting benches and places and stuff. I'm just saying that there's a lot of stuff there. Didn't mean it was easy to get or timely.
Rusty, let me just, see if I understand what you're saying. You're saying, we'll have a little bit of money for art, and then what we don't have money for, we will later get grants.
Sure, that's what we've always known we
okay.
had to do.
Well, I mean, I think we want as much money for art as we
Yeah,
can
we
get.
gotta-
We can get practically, but
Right.
We gotta still make it
Yeah,
suck.
get
But
rid
the,
of that
but the
grant and see
infrastructure
what it's gonna cost.
can't suffer for it.
Wouldn't it be more sense to put the money on the art and then raise money for grass seed as a grass seed funding instead of, like we ought to do the purpose of the park
Well, then you got $1 million.
And you don't have a park.
and then
We
raise
have a
money
little
for
crack
what you
concrete
can
there, put stuff on it.
with dirt and grass and, we ought to put our money towards the art and.
I mean, I don't want you guys to dismiss what she's saying as infeasible. Essentially what she's saying is instead of doing hard surface or retaining wall, you could do all that out of dirt, you could do the asphalt, and you could dump all that money into decorating this. It doesn't sound like that's the page you guys are on, but I just don't want it to be dismissed as infeasible. It's absolutely feasible, you guys just are solely decided against that.
Since I don't get the email stuff, have you given a general feel of a budget for all these things to?
Well, I mean, we've laid out the budget in previous meetings and, roughly set all that things up. We've done that before. We don't do that every time we move to another step of the drawings.
Okay. But where are you at right now, roughly?
Well, before I came here, we were at
1.3?
75%.
No, I
As
mean,
far as what, budget?
Dollars-wise for this.
Well, we spent it all. We don't leave money on the table.
No, I'm saying, what's the budget for this job?
1.4 last time.
1.4.
I couldn't remember the exact number.
Yeah, I'll have to double check, but I'm almost positive I just looked at it and that was the
Yeah,
awarded,
it's just a
that was the
rough-
awarded amount listed in the construction for the, because I happened to be looking at it because of Marvin Park, somebody asked me what the budget was, and technically we're not supposed to give them that number, but it's also public information.
Is there a stipulation in that grant that says that a certain percentage of it has to be spent on actual art?
No,
Right
so
off
they,
the bat?
the Department of
They don't
State
want to-
tries not to tie your hands so much, because they want you to have control over your own project. The problem is with a project like this that is very vague in nature, it seems a lot of people are having different views on, I mean, if we had strict, clear limits like that, it would make it very easy. We would follow that and meet it.
So,
I think everybody would want, when we're done and it's built, that's an art park, not a hole in the ground with some benches and trees.
Anything there would look like art, other than what's there now.
so
What
James,
if we just put art there now?
You put some, sharpening cards, a price chopper in there, look like art.
James, just a general feel, that proposal up there, with all of our other expenses, that proposal, how much that gonna come in at?
When you're really putting me in a spot
I
here,
don't know,
but-
just a general feel, I don't know, without the prices of everything going through the roof in the next 10 minutes.
And taking that.
Is that
I mean,
at budget, way over budget, way under budget, a little under budget, what do you think?
we should be, if you're removing that stuff, you should have maybe $200,000.
No, the way you designed it, what would that come in at?
1.4.
Yeah, I mean.
Pretty much what you have up there with everything and everything.
We had, I
guessing
think,
about one
I think
point.
we had so the way I had designed it coming in here, we had $65,000 kind of as a flex, like, we can probably use that to pick nicer benches, to pick better lighting fixtures. So that's where we were gonna put that art part of it in.
Okay.
And so, but that also implies a 20% contingency fee, a $50,000 field change. That's stuff that gets kind of chewed away a little bit. I don't need 20% contingency when I'm at 90% design. Maybe I only need 5%. Field change order, we could probably cut it down a little bit in this, but my experience has been change orders are a bitch, so I try to keep something in there.
So once again, that's the reality of it. Is the infrastructure costs that much money and there's not much for art. You know, I don't know what you'd want to do for infrastructure to put. So 1.4, I'm just putting you on the spot. How much you want to spend for art on out of 1.4?
About half.
Half, so 700 grand for art and 700 grand for design and everything else and all the rest of it and the infrastructure. Yeah.
I mean, we could spend a lot on.
Well, we won't get any parking, we won't get any walls.
Since
we won't
Ryan's
get
wife's
much-
been
You
around.
won't get,
Metal
yeah, you won't get
stuff.
retaining walls, you'll probably get your pavement and maybe your access on one side.
Could be good. Without those retaining walls.
And now it's
never
gonna
get
cost
that
more
parking.
to totally redesign.
Yeah, without the retaining
I'm
wall on
not
the
saying
south,
to do it, I'm just,
it'll be hard.
Yes,
if we wanted to try and come up with a significant change, but another problem with that is we have to get the art. We can't just put 700,000 in the bank and say, thank you, state, and we'll be getting that art over the next 5 years. We gotta do it. It has to be there, it has to be done.
That's a good
So that
process.
has to be done by the end of the year also.
Yeah, you don't get to put that away and just, and then.
No, I know,
don't-
but, yeah,
I don't
we're
think
trying
it
to put
does.
it out to.
You know,
I think you can set that money aside and show them a process, just like we've been doing. Like that's, Julie doesn't chime in a lot on those meetings, because she doesn't, I don't wanna say she doesn't care, but that's not her job. Her job is to make sure we're not piddling our thumbs. I mean, it gets to be a little bit repetitive at this stage, because I'm like, well, yeah, we drew 3 more lines this week, we're gonna drive 3 more lines next week, and then, like, I mean, things are progressing, a weekly meeting is a little bit tedious, but yeah, she's not gonna twist our arms as far as how much we spend on what. And, I mean, in the end, she's gonna say, well, why didn't you do X, Y, or Z? She'll look back through the minutes but yeah, I think if you talk to her and you said, hey, we're gonna set this money aside, look, we put it in a bank account, it's for art, and then you continue the reporting process and say, look, this is how we're spending the money, there's a section in the reporting part that I have to fill out at some point that says, this is when we started commissioning for art, this is who we did and what, it's all part of the reporting process. So, I mean, there's definitely some clarity to be sought out after there, we can try to fit that in our meeting on Friday well. But yeah, I don't think that that's like, you have to apply that as part of construction, that seems impractical.
Construction wise, what if we left this driveway, delete this parking, leave everything here as is?
Well, you should take the ramp out.
What I'm
Mike's
saying-
proposing something else now.
I'm saying if you really wanna do the art park, like we divide it here.
I can't see what you're doing, Mike.
See the pointer there?
Yep, barely.
So where this parking is now.
Yeah.
We divide it here, we make this look like gravel parking lot. And then we get some really fancy art and we just stick it over here.
So we make a big old parking lot inside for the spaces that we're required to, and for half of that, we find some way to put some art in there.
How often are people gonna go back and see it?
James is hoping that we do something like this so we could start all the frig over again.
What about this running parking down the access road?
No, it isn't, because our budget is fixed. Like, we can't just get more money, like, once our budget's
Well, the problem
gone.
is the school. You almost have to drive down and then.
Well, I think you ought to give us a price on what you have basically designed there without that other, ramp. Tell us what that's gonna cost. Approximately.
And the concrete and the pads and stuff, yeah. Little tweaks like that.
It's gonna be, I mean, it'll be close to the whole budget.
We're only removing 200,000, right? I mean, hypothetically, that's, of course, not put you on the spot for that dollar amount, but.
No, I get what you're saying, I mean, to be honest with you guys, that's what I did. I looked at it and I said, well, if we're taking off that's $200,000, that's, I came in with 60, you're looking at, close to 2.5 for
No.
extra
It's
stuff.
a thought, I mean, Laura's saying no problem, she'd like to have 700 grand for art, but maybe if we can put 200 grand away for art, it's 200 grand.
I'm not an art connoisseur. What does 200,000 and 700,000 look like?
I can tell you, you could buy one thing for that price, but there's a
Yeah,
lot
I've
of
never bought a
expensive stuff.
sculpture. I don't know what these things cost.
I mean, so those benches that I showed you cost about between 7 and 10, depending on the size.
How many did you have planned?
We had 6.
6 benches, okay.
What do they look like?
Between 7 and 10
No, what do they
thousand.
look like?
That's coming from some corporation that stamps these things out, not necessarily a private artist.
Yeah.
Will charge 25,000 for that bench.
Yeah.
Oh, something
It's
like
like
that.
this.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
So we were gonna do
Why not
like
a sculpture
3
that has
to be
benches
asymmetric.
built into it?
I mean, that's what we're, like, what I was talking about, when I'm like, oh, we're gonna put artistic players, like, okay, you have 6 benches.
And that, and
Let's
the
start
price
at
of that is what?
$3,000.
And what's the price of that?
This is between 7 and 10.
1,000?
Yeah, there's 3 different sizes. Some smaller ones are 7, the bigger ones.
So if you're.
That's ballpark of where that should be, as an artist, I would charge.
So,
I think we should, I'd go.
I agree, kind of home. Good news is I'm gonna jump on this first thing tomorrow morning, try to do the best I can to get you guys something updated, because I very desperately want to see this project move forward. Bad news is, for you guys, I'm going to Disney next week, so, I will do my best to be in communication with you guys as far as if anything pops out. I was hoping to have red lines of this kind of stuff to my drafters so that they could really take this stuff to the 85–90%. That's not where this is headed. We very strongly have to talk to Julie about potentially getting an extension on Marvin Park.
On Marvin?
This part.
Yeah,
Okay.
This part.
yeah, they're all starting to blend together very
Yeah.
hard.
Hot Park is going to be the official name.
Pot
Yeah,
park?
pretty much.
For Marvin or for this one?
This one. We know it's gonna be there.
Both.
Well, this is a pot.
So James, your mission, should you decide to accept, is instead of having fun down at Disney, you're gonna be looking at sculptures and nifty stuff and benches and all kinds of crap down at Disney that would be good for us.
Yeah, in the back room, they're scratching that and used stuff, Disney's got, they have an auction every now
Hey,
and
Walt
then.
Disney didn't have to sit on it.
Bring it back up to Mickey or something.
Bring back a trailer.
They're laying up 7,000 people, so they might be looking at
You
it.
know?
Okay.
Well, as always, it was wonderful talking to you guys. We'll hopefully get some progress on these. I was gonna give you guys updates on the other stuff, but we took so long.
I do have one more thing.
Move on.
Hopefully you can help me on this.
Five.
The police station grant, we have to sign.
Proposal.
Yes, proposal.
So we provided you guys with a proposal. I believe it was generally accepted.
Yeah.
But we still need a signed contract before we can actually.
And there was a question of whether there was an additional fee to design a roof over the front steps. And the question was, do we want to include that roof in the design of the?
Yeah,
Because it's like $5,000 more.
I'd say I can't speak to a number specifically, but I know that the original fee that we gave you was just for
What's
the
in
stuff
the
that
grant?
was there, and then it would be an addition, I'm pretty sure he provided you that additional number.
That would be
But I don't
honestly
know
like
what it was.
$5,000 more engineering wise.
The roof would be nice over those stairs before we do have a huge liability issue.
And they would design it, they're not guaranteeing that we can build it within the grant money, but at least we got plans if we want to build it.
Yeah. You can
It's
find a
nice,
really
it's
nice,
perfect.
person to donate their construction time.
Right.
That's something I saw it in the newspaper and I wanted everybody to sort of be aware of it. The water rate increases, for the village of Owego, proposed rate increase is 51 cents per day in Owego of the rate increase.
It's insane.
That was the story that when they said about how much it would be down in Westchester County and how much it would be everywhere. And of course, ours was the largest increase anywhere, but wonderful, thanks.
When we started 10 years ago, my 5 or 6 inch sprinkler system cost $4,000 a year for water. I don't
Thank you
know.
for your
It's
time.
like worry.
And it's gonna be
Thank you.
6 now.
You know, real quick, I know I've given you guys my cards previously, but I can give you guys also a couple more.
So I guess, do you want me to go ahead with that?
I'm very much open
Police
to,
station.
like, I know you guys
just wanna
don't
go
always think of
ahead.
everything
Right.
right here on the spot, like, there's,
The
if
police
for any
station
reason you feel like
engineering.
you're not being updated or you're missing something, I can
Well, they would
always.
design it. They're not guaranteed to build it.
Yeah, no,
I'll get it back to you.
Yeah, I know, he had nothing.
Within the budget.
He's taking my place.
There you go.
Well,
I didn't want to sign us up for more money than we talked about.
You can have one. So we-
We adjourned?
Yeah, I know.
Not quite.
You didn't adjourn.
It is, yeah.
I gotta work tonight. I gotta be there 11. I go there, I get there at 10:30. I'm always early. I'm on time, I'm late.
okay.
I bring it out of the house. I need to take a shower, shave and everything. I'm sitting out here in my piano, and I get a text, "Oh, just come back to the TV." And I'm like, really? I forgot all about it. But that's still not there, right?
Well, historic,
As far as.
that's mostly our
historic.
So it's the extra money they.
No, I just slipped my mind. My mind has been
So
slipping.
that's kind of where I was.
Most of the things are-
But I just don't want that. I
Where I was
want
gonna
to
spend
spend
that
it.
$60,000.
We do have.
We should spend 5 grand to have that.
I try to be.
I agree with you.
I didn't want to tell you yes.
Did you tell me?
He's not this guy.
Yeah.
He's a different guy.
Oh, okay.
But I was asking you guys, let me tell you yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to,
Let's ask
yeah.
I was telling you
No
yes.
matter how hard I try, if we circle on the lines. Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying, and
Yeah, because you gotta have
that's
some-
why, I said, I don't think that it's feasible, I think that it's a great
idea, that's.
We haven't quite finished the meeting yet, Mike's gotta ask us something.
All right, okay. So who's gonna have?
As far as the engineering,
James?
it's just gonna look like a site. It's not gonna
You,
really,
Mike?
you know what I mean, that's all the other stuff that goes at the end, where we say, okay, well, these are the items we're gonna select,
Say
and all the
absolutely,
list,
that's
point
gonna
out.
be the terraced area.
Maybe it's like
Well,
that.
It's not- that'll be
He
designed.
just told Jimmy Mead, and through Jimmy Mead us, I'll talk to Pat tomorrow, but, so, I'm just saying, we can tell him.
What else we got?
Alright, so if I remember correctly from the
Email,
planning board.
James
there's-
back.
So that's the minimal.
Yeah.
Like, short, it's either kind of
That's what he
graphic,
was
or
asking.
like, as is.
So question for the
There isn't
board.
like real.
Do you want
Like, I
to
mean,
tell
do they
the
kind of
for
show
the
that
police
like we're
station
cutting some of the stuff out,
to
like,
get
okay, maybe we
plans?
don't need ramps, maybe we don't.
To have Hunt,
Like, I mean, I think
spend
that's.
$5,000 to have
I think
Hunt
that's gonna clutter things up.
make a
little
plan
bit.
for the
Plans
front,
for the
front of the police station.
Traffic kind of
Yes.
issues.
Where's that crowd gonna come from?
It's the grant, the police station.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a matching grant, so we're paying.
Like, you're
some.
putting sort of hard tape, and that's gonna cost, I mean, think
But
about
it has
it,
to be
you
done.
have an acre,
What's the match?
and you're trying to put down.
Well, so those
like
steps don't
$5
freeze, I mean, those.
Imagine if we make it up, it's about $450
I mean, I guess if
grand,
you
we're
take
paying
all
about a
that out,
buck and a
even
half.
that would be, but even that.
So we're willing to have, look at it, $5,000 in that grant.
No problem, maybe that would be okay.
Folks,
Oh, you get it.
folks, we need the roof over the front of the fire station, or the police station. And so, we're willing to
But I mean,
spend
the base.
$5,000 to have them designed.
Isn't the.
But we were gonna do it.
They would design it and then
It's all.
with their design, ship over.
It's the driveways, it's the parking.
Give us feedback on the
Those
historic
things that
look
are,
of it.
you know, really costing a lot.
Yeah, they gotta come up
You
with
guys
codes
have
and all
enough,
that.
and then,
So we're gonna do that?
you know,
Versus us just putting a
the
roof.
problem with
Right,
doing it
right.
like that this early is, I'm gonna be conservative, because I
I
don't
think we're all
want, I
good.
wanna actually
Yeah.
build the project.
So I'll tell them.
So, I mean, I'm gonna do my best to bring it in, I can't crunch the numbers like I
Did we
really
lose-
would at 90%.
Move to adjourn.
You know, I just did the project.
No, I need to-
I'm gonna shrink this down